From getting arrested for walking naked in the hotel's pool to begging for 10-minute acceptance from viewers.
I need someone in my life who will just spend 10 minutes to give me a hug. Ever! God damn, God damn!
These are the TikTok's most hated trans creators who loved destroying their own lives.
First of all, World Star, why are you misgendering me? I am not a dude. I am a transgender biological woman.
Starting with Lily Tino, whose action against haters backfired in numerous ways.
Yeah, you're a coward. Come on over. Say what you gotta say to me.
Now think, do you feel like a boy, a girl, or a little bit of both? Now I want you to imagine that everyone keeps telling you that you're something else. Wouldn't that make you sad inside? People who feel like this are transgender.
I'm pretty sure the name Lily Tino probably rings a bell. If not, trust me, you're about to understand why she or he is everywhere. Lily Tino has mastered the art of growing her audience through rage bait and controversy. From crazy claims about her surgery experience at Disneyland, casually discussed in front of families, to wild theories like Kurt Cobain being secretly trans. Lily knows how to stir the pot, and she's stirred it so well that people just can't seem to stop talking about her. Lily Tino is a TikToker, social media influencer, and OnlyFans creator. She's a problem, a menace, a true danger to the people, the children, that she tries to educate.
Hi friends! Today we're going to talk about something super important. What it means to be transgender. It's a big word, but I promise that it's easy to understand. Ready to learn? The first thing I want you to do is close your eyes. Now think, do you feel like a boy, a girl, or a little bit of both?
I feel scared.
Do you have your answer? Great. Now I want you to imagine that everyone keeps telling you that you're something else, even though in your heart you know who you are. Wouldn't that make you sad inside? People who feel like this are transgender. And if you're not transgender, it's super easy to be friends with someone who is. Let's take our imaginary friend Theo, for example. One day you notice that Theo starts wearing girl clothes instead of boy clothes, and then they tell you that they want to be called Luna.
Lily Tino fakes being misgendered for attention, refuses to ever admit when she's wrong, and attempts to educate minors on trans issues while also plastering OnlyFans content all over her wall. Overall, she's just terrible. Lily Tino's a creep.
Here's some questions I've been getting about how that works. The first question I get is, wait, don't you need your cake pops? They make testosterone, right? Yes, but I'm taking a medication right now that actually suppresses them from making testosterone. So no, I don't need them. I take estrogen already. Next question I get is, will the stick still work if the cake pop is removed? Yes. They're not making testosterone even now, and the cake pop stick works very well. So once they're gone, there won't be an issue. The next question is this removal basically step one of the big one, the big removal? You know what I'm saying? And the answer is no. I'm not really thinking too hard about that. I don't know if I want it. I'm just getting...
The real problem here isn't Lily's constant cycle of controversies, it's the fallout. The way her actions have become ammunition for transphobia makes her a convenient scapegoat for those looking for reasons to hate. And while she moves from one bad situation to the next, it's the trans community that ends up bearing the weight of her choices. This is about how one person's mistakes can affect an entire community. Today we're looking into Lily's history, most recent controversies, her responses or lack thereof, and why it all matters. How did we get here? Why does it feel like Lily's incapable of learning from her mistakes? And what's the impact of her actions? Let's get into this mess because there's a lot more at stake here than just online drama. So what was her rise to fame like?
It was Monday night. It was Monday night.
Lily Tino began her TikTok journey in November 2022, aiming to document her transition and share her experiences. Initially, her content was lighthearted and informative, serving as a resource for others facing similar struggles. It offered an insight into the daily challenges of her journey, and many found it relatable and genuine. Back then, Lily seemed committed to creating thoughtful content that could help others.
Pops, you misgender me.
But as time went on, things took a different turn. The pressures began to show, and Lily's content changed drastically. Instead of support and understanding, her videos became more controversial. The unnecessary comments and emotionally manipulative remarks earned her a Karen label, and her behavior started to draw attention for all the wrong reasons. Scandals began to accumulate, and allegations regarding her interactions with other creators only added to the chaos. Now it feels like Lily's online presence is crumbling under the weight of her actions. Let's look at one of her controversies. Lily Tino's bullying of workers has become viral, and it's easy to see why she keeps doing it. One particular video, which has amassed 40 million views, captures her calling out a worker for misgendering her.
It looks like he's having a nice piece.
Her. Yeah, it's okay. It's all good.
On the surface, correcting someone who used the wrong pronoun doesn't seem like a big deal, especially since the worker was apologetic and tried to make things right. But as the video progresses, it becomes apparent that Lily's reaction is far more than just a correction. It's a performance.
Did you call me sir? Hey, I just want to tell you that the person who gave me this called me sir.
What?
Called me sir.
Oh.
It's just like, it kind of just hurts a lot to get called sir.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
Very good. Thank you so much. No, yeah. Thank you. I'm not a sir. Nothing like a good misgendering. It is a knife in the gut when I get called sir. I feel like I need to tell him. I need to tell him that hurt. It hurts more when it's not intentional, because it means like this is sir to him. I know you didn't mean it, but I'm not a sir.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I know you didn't mean it. It's just, it hurts. I know when people clock me, it's fine, but like it does kind of hurt.
She sometimes leaves the restaurant visibly upset and makes a point to name the establishment publicly, drawing negative attention to a place that likely had no malicious intent. The power of her platform with millions of viewers means that even if a small percentage agree with her, it can have a damaging impact on the business and the workers involved. The troubling part is that Lily doesn't just want an apology. She wants to make a spectacle out of it. She calls the manager, emphasizes how deeply hurt she is, and makes the worker feel even more uncomfortable.
Okay. The Sweetwater starts at, okay.
I'm so sorry. I apologize.
It's just always like a knife. It always hurts every single time.
I was wondering if there's a manager I could talk to about something that happened.
Yeah, I was called sir.
Oh, okay.
It just really sucks every time it happens. I don't need to be called ma'am. I just need to not be called sir,
It's clear the worker made an honest mistake and was genuinely apologetic. But Lily pushes for more, as if an apology isn't enough. She demands accountability in a way that feels punitive rather than educational. The employee, likely just trying to do their job under stressful conditions, is put in an impossible situation, trying to appease a customer who is clearly more interested in making a point than finding a resolution. Lily uses emotionally manipulative language, like saying it felt like a knife in the heart to be misgendered.
Hi. I use she, her pronouns. I'm not sir. Yeah, like it's like a knife in the heart. I did specifically ask ahead of time not to be called sir. Yeah, I'm just gonna go.
This kind of exaggeration is intended to evoke sympathy and paint herself as the victim, but it ultimately comes across as overblown and disingenuous.
I am not sir. Do you want to say that to the camera? Hundreds and hundreds of people watching you?
You right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no.
No, go ahead. You just called me a man. Don't be a coward. Don't be a coward.
Yeah, you're a coward. Come on over. Say what you got to say to me.
Oh, you don't want to call me a man in my face? Come on over.
What makes this behavior even more troubling is the fact that Lily records these interactions and broadcasts them to her massive following. These aren't private moments of confrontation meant to educate or correct someone. They're deliberately public, designed to generate views and engagement. Lily knows that controversy sells, and she's leveraging her identity and the mistakes of others to keep her content viral. Even if only a fraction of her audience supports her, that still represents millions of people who are being influenced by her skewed portrayal of these situations.
Can I ask why you didn't step in? What you were standing and watching? They called me. They were verbally harassing me.
I didn't hear him call you that. I didn't know. I honestly had no idea.
Lily's actions have even broader implications. By turning these incidents into spectacles, she risks reinforcing negative stereotypes about the trans community. Many people already hold misconceptions about trans individuals being overly sensitive or confrontational, and Lily's behavior feeds directly into these narratives. Instead of using her platform to foster understanding and empathy, she's creating an environment where service workers fear making honest mistakes. The most ironic part of all this is that Lily seems to relish the power she has over these workers. There's a sense of entitlement in her actions, as if, because she's a public figure and a trans woman, she deserves special treatment beyond basic respect. She even admits in one video that she's not the easiest customer, but justifies her actions by stating that service workers are just servers, implying that they deserve whatever treatment she dishes out. This kind of mentality is dehumanizing to the people who are simply trying to do their jobs. But what's worse is the content she makes for children, especially the emulation of Miss Rachel videos.
Hi friends! Today we're talking about something super cool called pronouns.
Lily Tino's imitation of Miss Rachel has brought about a lot of debate, and it's not hard to see why. There are both positive and negative aspects to this, but unfortunately, the negatives seem to far outweigh the positives. Let's start with the good.
Pronouns are little words that help us talk about each other. We all have pronouns. Some people use he and him, like this bear. He's so cuddly. Some people use she and her, like this cat. She's so playful. Some people use they and them. Oh, like this frog. They like to hop. Can you say he's so cuddly? Good. Can you say she's so playful? Good. Can you say they like to hop? Good job.
Some people think it's a good idea to teach young children about the existence of transgender people. They think children should be aware that trans people exist, and it's important to promote an understanding of diversity from a young age. However, this education must be approached with nuance and care. And that's where things start to go wrong with Lily's approach.
And it's important to ask people what their pronouns are because you can't always tell by what they look like. Here's how you do it. Hi, my name is Lily. My pronouns are she and her. What about you? Then the other person can tell you their name and pronouns. Using the right pronouns makes everyone feel happy and included. It shows that you care about them. Plus, it's an easy way to be a good friend.
The content Lily produces is aimed at young children, attempting to simplify the concept of being transgender to make it easy to understand. But the truth is the transgender experience is complex. Trying to condense it into a few simple sentences for a young audience can be misleading and even dangerous.
Hi friends! Today we're going to talk about something super important, what it means to be transgender.
For instance, Lily encourages children to close their eyes and think if they feel like a boy, a girl, or a little bit of both. Then asserts that if they feel differently from what they were assigned, they may be transgender.
It's a big word, but I promise that it's easy to understand. Ready to learn? The first thing I want you to do is close your eyes. Now think, do you feel like a boy, a girl, or a little bit of both? Do you have your answer? Great. Now I want you to imagine that everyone keeps telling you that you're something else, even though in your heart, you know who you are. Wouldn't that make you sad inside? People who feel like this are transgender.
This approach not only oversimplifies, but also runs the risk of confusing children who are still in the early stages of understanding themselves and the world around them.
A lot of people will say that it's impossible for a 4-year-old to know if they're trans or not, but actually that's not true. They can know, and here's why. From day one, gender is baked into everything we do. You either have a boy name or a girl name. boy toys or girl toys, boy clothes or girl clothes. So from an early age, kids understand the difference between boy and girl, and more importantly, which one they're expected to be. So it makes sense that if what they feel inside is different than what they're expected to be, then they might feel uncomfortable, and they might want to talk about that discomfort. And we all know that kids are good at talking about how they feel. For example, "Mommy, I skinned my knee."
The idea of diagnosing very young children, some as young as 4 or 5, with gender dysphoria is particularly problematic. These are children who are just beginning to learn about themselves, and their feelings and identities are fluid and evolving. To say that a child knows definitively that they're transgender at such a young age can be dangerous, especially when this diagnosis is being handed out by someone without any formal psychological training.
"Mommy, I don't like wearing boy clothes." These are all similar feelings of discomfort that we can talk about to our parents. That's not to say that all kids will realize they're transgender when they're little. A lot don't. I didn't until I was 27, but I can't tell you how many people I've met that knew they were trans at 4 or 5 years old. So if there's a kid in your life who's telling you they're trans, please believe them.
Children change a lot, both mentally and physically, throughout their development. What they feel or identify with at 4 years old might be completely different a few years down the line. This uncertainty is even greater for children with learning difficulties, such as autism, who are statistically more likely to identify as transgender. The nuances of gender identity are simply too complex for such blanket statements, and promoting these ideas without any caution is irresponsible. Another concerning aspect of Lily's content is the way she presents these topics as if they are universally simple truths. She claims that children can easily know if they're transgender, comparing it to feeling discomfort like a scraped knee or not liking certain clothes. This analogy trivializes the depths of what it means to be transgender. Many transgender adults will tell you that their journey was anything but simple. It was often confusing, fraught with doubt, and took many years of introspection. To suggest that a child can identify as transgender with the same clarity as expressing dislike for a piece of clothing is misleading and fails to capture the gravity of gender identity. Lily's imitation of Miss Rachel also brings up another significant issue: the platform of which this content is presented. Miss Rachel, known for her educational and kid-friendly content, has a clear focus: teaching kids basic skills in an age-appropriate manner. Lily, on the other hand, is not exclusively a children's content creator. In fact, she has an OnlyFans account, which she promotes on her TikTok.
Ooh.
It's good. It's good. It's good. Are we still on the cake pop bag?
We're further down.
We're further down now. What's underneath the cake pop bag? There it is. The floor? The ground?
The basement.
The basement. There it is.
You like that?
I like the basement. The basement of the cake pop factory. We're making cake pops upstairs.
Her page features content that can only be described as explicit, and these posts coexist alongside videos aimed at educating children about transgender issues. This mix is deeply problematic. It's not appropriate to have educational content for children side by side with sexually explicit material, and it raises serious questions about the intent and responsibility behind Lily's platform. The idea of combining these two types of content on the same platform is troubling for a number of reasons. Parents should be able to trust that the content their children consume is safe and appropriate for their age group. By promoting explicit adult content alongside her educational TikToks, Lily crossed the line. It's one thing to be an advocate for trans issues and create content aimed at raising awareness. It's entirely another to mix that advocacy with adult content in a way that could easily expose children to inappropriate material.
Now that my cake pops are gone, a lot of people have been asking if I'm going to use the cake pop stick and turn it into a donut. Every trans person approaches this question in a different way. The trans women I've met who have donuts are really happy with them, but there's always a risk, and it takes almost a whole year to recover from the surgery. Down the line, I might get a donut, but right now I'm focused on removing my facial hair and my body hair.
The problem is compounded by the way Lily uses her platform to push these ideas. she uses emotionally manipulative language that puts undue pressure on her audience. For example, she emphasizes the importance of affirming a child's chosen gender identity, stating that not doing so could be a matter of life and death. While many think it's true that acceptance is crucial for the well-being of trans youth, presenting it in such terms can create an environment of fear rather than understanding. Parents may feel coerced into affirming something they don't fully understand, simply out of fear of being seen as harmful or unloving. Instead of encouraging open-ended discussions or allowing room for children to grow and explore their identities at their own pace, her content often feels prescriptive. It tells children what to think rather than giving them the tools to think for themselves. This kind of approach can do more harm than good, especially for children who might not fit well into the boxes that are being presented to them.
Let's take our imaginary friend Theo, for example. One day you notice that Theo starts wearing girl clothes instead of boy clothes, and then they tell you that they want to be called Luna instead of Theo. This is so exciting for our friend Luna because they finally get to be their true self.
In the previous troubling video, Lily introduces an imaginary friend named Theo, who decides they wanted to be called Luna and start wearing different clothes. The story encourages children to accept these changes without question, and to apologize profusely if they accidentally misgender their friend. While it's important to teach respect and understanding, the way this is framed feels more like a directive than an invitation to empathy. It's as if Lily is demanding compliance rather than genuine understanding. While there is value in teaching children about the existence of transgender people, the way Lily Tino goes about it raises many red flags. If Lily truly wants to make a positive impact, she should consider the responsibility that comes with her platform. One would think that's the worst to see of Lily Tino. But no, it gets more insane, especially with the Disneyland adventure and the crazy claims. Lily Tino's Disneyland video has caused a lot of controversy. The video features Lily discussing intimate details about her transition journey.
Last summer, I got my cake pops removed, and the plan up until recently was to get my marshmallow wand reconfigured into a marshmallow tunnel. Unfortunately, a few weeks ago, I noticed some hair regrowth on my marshmallow wand. That's bad because the outside of the wand is what becomes the inside of the tunnel, so you don't want hair growing there, or else it's very uncomfortable.
If Lily had chosen to talk about her journey in a private or more appropriate public space, it wouldn't have had such backlash. However, Disneyland, with its many families and young children, was an unsuitable backdrop for discussing topics related to surgery and intimate body parts. Lily herself seemed to acknowledge this at the start of the video, even joking about potentially being banned from Disneyland.
I'm gonna get banned from Disney. I swear, we're about to get banned from Disney.
This self-awareness makes the entire situation even more concerning. She knew this setting wasn't right, but proceeded anyway. It suggested that part of her goal was to generate controversy, a tactic often referred to as rage bait. Rage bait is a strategy where creators intentionally provoke strong reactions to drive engagement. The shock and arguments often boost view counts and bring in more attention, positive or negative. In Lily's case, it seems likely that she chose to film in such an inappropriate setting precisely because it would provoke outrage.
When I got my cake pops removed, I specifically asked my surgeon to leave the bag intact. That's because down the line, if I wanted to use my cake pop stick and turn it into a donut, the bag can come in handy. There are a couple methods that use the bag itself, but the one that I'm referring to is called the cake pop stick inversion method.
Her TikTok account is full of such controversial content that seems designed to trigger emotions, and the Disneyland video fits neatly into that pattern. The fact that she framed intimate surgical details using childlike language, referring to body parts as cake pops or other food items, added to the discomfort. It felt out of place and manipulative, as if she was trying to normalize something complex in a way that might appeal to children. Lily's choice of language in the video is another point of contention. She used metaphors like cake pop, donut, and marshmallow lines to describe body parts.
What they do is they take the cake pop stick and they turn it inside out, essentially turning the inside of the cake pop stick into the lining of the donut. Once the lining is in place, they can take the bag and use pieces of it to create the exterior of the donut. The inversion method is one of the most common ways that you see trans women get their donut.
While this may have been a way to circumvent TikTok's moderation policies, it also created a disturbing issue in the context of Disneyland. It was about creating content that was likely to be seen by children, both in person at Disneyland and online through her account. This type of content is just one example of the disturbing videos that appear frequently on her TikTok page.
Buongiorno! This is my manicotti, and later this year a surgeon will turn it into a tortellini. How, you ask? Let me show you. Now, if I still had my meatballs, which I don't because I got them removed last summer, this would be the first thing the surgeon would remove. So let's go ahead and do that. With the meatballs gone, his next move will be to split the manicotti straight down the middle.
To add to the controversy, Lily attempted to apologize for the Disneyland video through a live stream. However, the tone of her apology didn't do much to reduce the backlash. She admitted that she regretted not making more videos like that, which played into the perception that her primary motivation was not to share her story, but to generate rage and clicks. She even compared talking about gender reassignment surgery to an elderly person discussing a hip replacement. Discussing intimate surgery is not the same as talking about a medical procedure like a hip replacement, especially in a family setting surrounded by children. This false equivalency with her dismissive tone shows Lily wasn't genuinely apologetic, but rather doubling down on the controversy to keep people talking. A key aspect of the criticism Lily faced revolves around the potential harm her actions could cause. Disneyland is a place where parents bring their children for a fun and safe experience. When an influencer uses that environment as a stage for controversial adult-themed content, it undermines that sense of safety. Parents should not have to worry about their kids being exposed to discussions of intimate surgical details while standing in line for a ride. Additionally, by framing her actions as a joke or something funny, Lily trivializes the discomfort she may have caused to those around her. But one of the most recent controversies Lily is battling with has to do with another trans creator called Cobain.
Tino tried to coerce me. I've been debating making this video for weeks now, and if I could save one person who may be a victim. I was contacted by another victim named Cassie. Lily stalked and refused to take no for an answer. It's like if you had a coworker and they just randomly ask this to you. That's how it feels. It's very inappropriate.
Lily Tino recently found herself at the center of another controversy, this time involving fellow trans creator Cobain. The situation sheds light on Lily's behavior and how she handles criticism. Cobain came forward with allegations that Lily had acted inappropriately, using her influence as a trans influencer to pressure Collie into a situation she was uncomfortable with, all while Collie's wife was present.
A few weeks ago, Tino tried to coerce me into having sex with her, using her status as a trans influencer with my wife sitting right next to me.
According to Collie, Lily attempted to coerce her into going on a work trip to Las Vegas, initially under the guise of a professional collaboration.
And then cut to a few weeks ago, Lily messaged me with the idea of, do you want to go on a work trip with me to Las Vegas? And I tell her immediately no, because I'm on a Canadian work permit. And the moment I leave Canada, it goes null and void. It's not good anymore. But then we hopped on a Discord video chat, and she was still really insistent on wanting me to get to the US ASAP so we could meet together. She really wanted to know the nitty-gritty of why I couldn't currently come to the US.
When Collie declined, citing her Canadian work permit restrictions, Lily persisted and eventually revealed her true intentions. She wanted to create adult content with Collie.
Meanwhile, I'm just wondering, why is she so urgent about this? Then she just pops out with a bait and switch of, oh, I wanted to actually go to Las Vegas to do OF content together. My wife is sitting literally right next to me. Lily is fully aware of my wife, JC, and how we're together and how we're monogamous. I never hinted to Lily that I was interested in anything like that, and I'm wondering why she assumed I would just agree to it immediately if borders weren't an issue. Because no, I would not have agreed to that under any circumstances.
This pushy behavior, despite knowing that Kali and her wife were in a monogamous relationship, shows Lily's disregard for personal boundaries. Kali described how uncomfortable the situation was, with Lily continuing to pressure her.
So after our call, I'm just sitting there, very exhausted, wondering, why do I feel so bothered right now? And I think about it over and over and over again. And I asked JC, did Lily just actually harass me? Is like, I don't know, like...
Lily's actions here seem to reflect a sense of entitlement, perhaps due to her status as a well-known TikToker. She appeared to assume that her influence would make others comply with her wishes, without considering their feelings or boundaries. This isn't the first time Lily has shown a lack of awareness regarding her actions. It shows a belief that her status grants her privileges that others should simply accept.
I was first introduced to Lily by my wife, who was a member of our Discord server, and she would always tell me about all the hate Lily would get, and I eventually just had a soft spot and was like, hey, let me contact Lily, because I understand how bad it can feel to have the hate mob on you as a trans influencer.
Kali also mentioned that she had initially been a fan of Lily's content, especially on platforms like TikTok. Kali's empathy for the hate Lily had faced might have led her to overlook some of Lily's more questionable behavior until it directly affected her. However, once the line was crossed, Kali decided to speak up, hoping to prevent anyone else from experiencing a similar situation. In response to the allegations, Lily released a statement that many found dismissive.
I'd like to start with some context about Colleen and I's relationship before all this happened.
She downplayed the incident, claiming that collaborations of this kind were common, and that her invitation was no different. She framed her interactions with Kali as friendly and professional, insisting she had no romantic interest in her. However, the fact remains that Lily was aware of Kali's marital status and continued to push the idea of creating explicit content together, which suggests otherwise.
So last April, I was going through a really tough time, something that actually I learned Colleen had also gone through before. She reached out, was really supportive, really nice, and honestly, her support was one of the reasons that I was able to pick myself back up and start creating again. From there, Colleen and her partner were super involved in our community. It was great to have them. Over time, we became friends, and like any friend, I would always post something nice in her comment section. I didn't have a crush on her. I was just a friend from the fan section saying, go Colleen. Now, independent of Colleen, I recently decided to start making a new kind of content. One of the things that I thought would be helpful to kickstart that effort would be to collaborate with people in the same space. Colleen is in that space.
Lily also tried to shift the blame by pointing out inconsistencies in Kali's account of events. She highlighted a supposed contradiction in Kali's videos, where Kali initially stated that Lily brought up the trip during a chat, then later said it was mentioned in a video call.
Colleen contradicts herself a couple of times over the course of her videos. In the first one, she talks about how we were discussing Las Vegas in the chat before I brought it up to her on the video call. That's not true. And in her second video, she contradicts it by saying that I brought it up to her for the first time on our video call. That's true.
However, this contradiction was hardly significant and seemed more like an attempt by Lily to discredit Kali rather than genuinely address the issue. By focusing on minor discrepancies, Lily diverted attention from the core problem, her inappropriate behavior and disregard for Kali's boundaries. One of the most troubling aspects of Lily's response was her claim that this situation was something out of nothing. This dismissive attitude shows a complete lack of accountability. Instead of recognizing that her actions made someone uncomfortable, Lily chose to invalidate Kali's feelings entirely. She even implied that Kali's motivations were driven by a desire to gain attention or cause drama.
Recap, I never had a crush on Colleen. I saw her as a friend. I asked her if she and her partner wanted to come to Vegas. She said no. I said okay and moved on. This whole situation is something out of nothing.
This kind of response is the reason why many people, including others in the trans influencer space, have grown wary of Lily. Her refusal to acknowledge her mistakes or the impact of her actions only serves to alienate others.
Colleen in her videos has made it out to be like I dragged it on, like I was pushing her and pulling her and trying to get her to do this collaboration, when in reality, all I said was, okay, no problem, totally fine. At that very moment, my internal monologue was, okay, Colleen doesn't want to do this, who else would want to do this? And I moved on from the situation entirely.
Lily's response to the controversy also included a statement about wanting to handle the situation privately, which on the surface might seem reasonable. However, given the context, it comes off as self-serving.
I would have much rather dealt with this personally, one-on-one, but she didn't allow for that to happen. So here I am, speaking my piece.
Of course, Lily would prefer to address this issue privately. That would prevent the public from seeing a side of her that contradicts the image she wants to project. Collie's latest videos further show how Lily's inconsistence and manipulation led to an uncomfortable situation, while also showing Lily's refusal to take responsibility. Collie revealed that Lily pressured her into collaborating on adult content and did so under false pretenses, leading Collie to a Discord call where she unexpectedly proposed filming explicit material. Lily tried to make the situation seem like it was just another professional collaboration talking about financial benefits.
Lily went on to mention how it would benefit us both financially, which I call BS on that part because I'm much more successful on that platform than her, no offense. And right after she pitched us doing an OF collab, I immediately reminded her that I was monogamous.
However, Collie pushed back, pointing out that Lily's approach was dishonest and inappropriate. Collie also mentioned that she had initially asked her wife, Ja, to communicate her discomfort to Lily, but Lily ignored this and continued to push for the collaboration.
I got JC to message Lily for me, telling her how upset I was and how I didn't even want to be around. And JC did mention the OF part. So this kind of confirms that Lily does know about that if she ever tries to deny it again, which she did. Her apology was really just like, yeah, it was just for work. But no, I know that wasn't the case.
Lily's apology, if it can even be called that, was dismissive. She claimed that her intentions were purely professional, despite evidence to the contrary. One of the most disturbing revelations came when Collie disclosed that Lily had pressured her to come up with an exact timeline for when she could collaborate, even though Collie had already expressed discomfort with the idea.
And she pushed me again for more details on why I couldn't come to the US. And she also wanted an exact timeline of when she thought I would be able to do it. And I said probably 8 months or so, but I thought it was weird to even ask.
This insistence was paired with Lily's misleading statement that a collaboration would be mutually beneficial, which Collie called out as untrue.
Lily wanted me to go to this place in Vegas where a company named Queer Crush, who she met at a Pride event in San Francisco, were setting up sets and cameras to film professional-looking porn. She even sent me a link to the website right here while we were talking. And I didn't take a look at the link until like yesterday, but I checked it yesterday, and the kind of stuff that they're filming is very much hardcore.
Lily seemed to be using her influence to create a sense of urgency and pressure, hoping that Collie would cave to her demands. The entire approach was manipulative and disregarded Collie's feelings entirely.
And finally, if you're wondering why I haven't responded till now, it's because the day I was going to respond last week, I was contacted by another victim named Cassie.
To make matters worse, Collie wasn't the only person who experienced this type of behavior from Lily.
Her situation's very similar to mine, except for her, Lily stalked, groomed.
This was how Cassie had been pressured by Lily in the past. Another concerning aspect of Lily's behavior is her attempt to sanitize this situation by framing herself as a supportive ally. Collie shared that Lily was there for her in a friendly manner initially, offering support when she was dealing with public scrutiny. However, it quickly became apparent that Lily's support was conditional with an underlying agenda.
I know she's probably gonna just brush this off like she didn't do anything wrong, but it felt so wrong because I met her and I talked to her under the guise that I was basically friend/mentor to her. And she completely neglected that and just saw me as dollar signs and a piece of meat.
Just early this year, Lily Tino made another crazy claim about why she believed that Kurt Cobain is trans. I mean, what's she on?
I bet you didn't know that Kurt Cobain was probably trans.
Lily claimed that Kurt Cobain was likely transgender, based on selective interpretations of his actions and words. This type of claim oversimplifies Cobain's life and misrepresents his identity. Let's break down why this claim doesn't hold up under scrutiny.
Kurt wore a lot of women's clothing, and when asked about this, they replied that they wore dresses all the time because they felt comfortable and free.
In the video, Lily argued that Kurt Cobain was probably trans because he wore women's clothing and seemed comfortable in it. This argument is unreasonable on multiple levels. Wearing dresses or other traditionally feminine clothing does not automatically mean that someone identifies as transgender. Cross-dressing has long been a form of artistic expression, rebellion, and a statement against rigid gender norms, especially among artists and musicians. Rock legends like David Bowie, Mick Jagger, and Iggy Pop also wore feminine clothing, not because they were transgender, but because they wanted to challenge societal norms and stereotypes around masculinity. Cobain's fashion choices were part of the tradition in the rock scene, where rejecting mainstream ideas and embracing androgyny was a form of rebellion against the commercialization of art and the hyper-masculine culture of rock. Cobain's statements about wearing dresses, how it made him feel comfortable and free, were consistent with this tradition. It was less about questioning his gender and more about challenging what it meant to be a man in rock music.
Just look at Kurt in these pictures. They look so happy.
His choice to wear dresses was a rejection of toxic masculinity and an expression of his disdain for rigid gender roles. This kind of gender nonconformity does not equate to being transgender. There's an important distinction between gender nonconformity, expressing oneself in ways that don't align with traditional gender norms, and gender dysphoria, which is the discomfort someone feels when their gender identity doesn't match their sex. Lily's claim seems to conflate these two concepts, which are fundamentally different. Lily talked about a childhood interview where Cobain mentioned that he mostly hung out with girls and thought he might be gay at one point.
And in an interview about their childhood, Kurt said that they mostly hung out around girls, and that at one point they thought they might be gay.
Socializing with girls or questioning one's sexuality doesn't inherently indicate a transgender identity. In fact, it's common for young people, especially those with creative or sensitive temperaments, to explore their identity in various ways, including experimenting with social groups or questioning their sexuality. Cobain's comfort around girls and his thoughts about being gay show his rejection of conventional masculinity, not necessarily a deeper questioning of his gender identity. It's important to understand that sexual orientation and gender identity are separate concepts. Just because Cobain questioned whether he might be gay does not mean he was questioning his gender. Many people experience uncertainty about their sexuality during adolescence, especially in a time when LGBTQ+ identities weren't widely understood or accepted. Projecting a modern understanding of gender onto Cobain's words decades after the fact is misleading. Another point Lily made was that many transgender people who lack the vocabulary to express their gender identity might initially identify as gay.
Many trans people who don't have the vocabulary yet to express their gender identity will describe what they're feeling as being gay. That's exactly what I did in middle school.
While this can be true for some individuals, it's not universally applicable, nor should it be applied to someone like Cobain. The language around LGBTQ+ identities has changed over the years. Cobain grew up in a time when discussions about gender identity were rare, and even discussions about sexual orientation were filled with misunderstanding. It's easy to take his words out of context and apply today's terms to them, but that doesn't mean it's accurate or fair to do so.
Kurt is also quoted as saying that they identify more with the feminine than with the masculine. This is clear proof that Kurt did not identify with the gender they were assigned at birth.
Cobain's rejection of traditional masculinity and his empathy for women do not provide evidence that he was transgender. Many men embrace feminine traits and reject toxic masculinity without experiencing gender dysphoria. Cobain's openness about his identification with feminine qualities can be seen as a positive rejection of hyper-masculine culture rather than an indication of discomfort with his own gender. People are complex and many possess a mix of traditionally masculine and feminine traits. Embracing femininity does not inherently mean someone is transgender. One of the most annoying points in Lily's argument was her interpretation of Nirvana's early lyrics.
And the most convincing evidence that Kurt was trans was in an early version of Nirvana's All Apologies lyrics, where Kurt wrote, "Let me grow some." That is clear-cut gender dysphoria. And of course, Kurt will never be able to tell us themselves.
She pointed to a draft of All Apologies where Cobain wrote, "Let me grow some," and claimed this was evidence of gender dysphoria. This reasoning is flawed. Song lyrics, particularly in the hands of a creative thinker like Cobain, are not always autobiographical. Artists frequently use their lyrics to explore themes and emotions that aren't literal reflections of their personal experiences. To interpret these lyrics as a direct confession of gender dysphoria is to misunderstand the artistic process. Creative works are often metaphorical or symbolic, and using them as definitive proof of someone's identity is misguided at best. Cobain's lyrics often go into pain, social alienation, and emotional issues, but they weren't always direct reflections of his life. Many musicians use their art to look into ideas and emotions in a broad, symbolic manner. Perhaps the most troubling part of Lily's claim was her suggestion that Cobain's death was connected to struggles with gender identity.
But the evidence makes it pretty obvious they were trans. That might be why Kurt's no longer with us. Maybe Kurt knew that we weren't ready.
This is very disrespectful to Cobain and his family. Cobain's tragic death was the result of numerous factors, including mental health struggles, addiction, and the pressures of fame. Reducing his death to an unproven narrative about gender identity isn't right. It's also harmful to imply that his suicide was somehow inevitable because of a supposed struggle with gender identity, especially when there is no substantial evidence to support this claim. Suicide is a serious issue, influenced by a range of personal, social, and psychological factors. While it's true that trans individuals face higher rates of suicide, there is no evidence to suggest that Cobain's death was related to gender dysphoria. His well-documented battles with addiction and depression provide a much more plausible explanation for his tragic end. Lily Tino later responded to the backlash over her claim about Kurt Cobain.
People are very upset about the Kurt Cobain video. I know. I stand by the video. I made it because it is something that I was thinking about a lot.
Lily began her response by standing by her original video, stating that the idea of Cobain being trans was something she had been thinking about for a while. While it's fair for someone to think about such topics, it's important to recognize when personal bias influences the interpretation of historical figures. In this case, Lily appeared to have already decided that Cobain was transgender, and then selectively searched for evidence to support her claim, rather than objectively analyzing his life and words. Lily also mentioned that she was surprised by the backlash, implying that people were upset simply because they didn't like the idea of Cobain being transgender.
Yeah, I am surprised by the reaction. I think a lot of it has to do with people being... So a lot of the criticism is that, oh, Kurt Cobain is disrespectful, right? There's nothing disrespectful about it.
However, the criticism wasn't about the concept of Cobain being trans. It was about the fact that she had projected this identity onto him without sufficient evidence. Cobain was a real person with a deep life, and his struggles and experiences shouldn't be reduced to fit a modern narrative without his consent. This kind of speculation can be deeply disrespectful, especially when it's imposed on someone who is no longer here to clarify or defend themselves. Another point Lily made in her response was that there is nothing wrong with assuming someone is trans, just as people assume others are cisgender every day.
I think it would be pretty cool if Kurt Cobain was trans, because, you know, we assume that people are cis every single day. There's nothing bad about that. Also, nothing bad about assuming people are trans. There's really a lot of people are attaching a value judgment to the idea of being trans when there isn't one.
While this may seem like a reasonable statement on the surface, it completely misses the point of the criticism. The problem is the fact that Lily is making a sweeping statement about Cobain's identity without any evidence to back it up. It's ironic, given that Lily has built her platform on challenging people's assumptions about her own gender identity, Yet she fails to see why assuming Cobain's identity without evidence could be seen as disrespectful. Lily then tried to justify her video by saying that she wanted to offer an alternate reading of Cobain's life.
The intent of the video was to recontextualize or maybe offer an alternate reading of someone who is no longer with us, and maybe why they're no longer with us, or a part about them that might add extra interesting context to who they are or were.
However, alternate readings should be based on credible evidence, not speculation. What Lily did was not a thoughtful reinterpretation. It was a baseless revision of Cobain's identity. The fact that Cobain is deceased does not give anyone free rein to speculate about his identity without considering the impact on his legacy, his surviving family, and his fans.
The fact that they are deceased is the only reason I made that video, because it would not be respectful to speculate on a living person's gender, because then that can lead to like real life consequences of someone either getting outed or, you know, what have you. But Kurt Cobain's gone. They are no longer with us. It's not hurting anyone to speculate.
Lily's response attempted to dismiss the backlash by claiming that no one was being hurt by her speculation. This is not true. Public figures, even after their death, have a legacy that affects their family, friends, and cultural significance. Cobain's daughter, his family, and his fans all have a stake in how he's remembered. When someone publicly speculates about his identity without evidence, it can alter the way people perceive him. It's irresponsible to discard this impact and claim that no harm is being done.
So, if you think that it's disrespectful, I'd ask you to look inside and say, why is it disrespectful? Would it be such a bad thing if Kurt were trans?
Throughout her response, Lily repeatedly tried to shift the blame onto her critics, suggesting that they were the ones attaching a negative value judgment to the idea of Cobain being trans. The issue isn't about whether being transgender is good or bad. It's about the lack of evidence and the ethical implications of assigning an identity to someone without their consent. Towards the end of her response, Lily said that if she was wrong about Cobain being trans, then no harm was done. But if she was right, then it would add an interesting layer to his life.
Let's say I'm wrong. We'll say I'm wrong, okay? Let's say that Lily is wrong about Kurt Cobain. Okay, then what? Who's been hurt here? Nobody. Let's say I'm right. Then that offers another interesting layer of someone who was going through something.
This kind of argument is manipulative. The criticism about the lack of evidence and the ethical concerns involved in assigning that identity. It's not about the outcome, but the process by which Lily arrived at her conclusion. Lily also claimed that the theory about Cobain being transgender wasn't something she came up with on her own, but rather something that had been discussed by others. However, repeating an unfounded theory without evidence is still problematic, especially when presented as fact. Just because a theory exists doesn't mean it should be propagated without critical examination. She also made the same claim about a former U.S. President, Abraham Lincoln. Why would she make such a claim? She said he was queer and insisted it didn't matter that he had been married to a woman. She also mentioned that he had 2 male partners before getting married.
Did you know that Abraham Lincoln was queer? Sure, he was married to a woman eventually, but he had 2 male partners before that.
Perhaps Lily Tino knows more about history than the rest of us. Who knows? What's most outrageous of all her claims is that of pregnant transgender women. Lily Tino made this bold claim about the potential for trans women to undergo pregnancy. Do her claims oversimplify the current science and mislead those looking for genuine answers? Lily began mentioning that trans women getting pregnant isn't as far off as people think, pointing to recent advancements in uterus transplants. She pointed out that in the past decade, 50 babies have been born from uterus transplants, suggesting that this technology could soon be available for trans women.
In the past 10 years, 50 babies have been born from a uterus transplant.
To date, all of these successful uterus transplants have been performed on cisgender women, individuals born with female anatomy who experienced infertility due to uterine issues. These procedures are still highly experimental and come with risks, even for those with the biological infrastructure to support pregnancy. The leap from successful transplants in cis women to suggesting that trans women could also carry pregnancies lacks any substantial scientific basis.
How this works is a person with a damaged or missing uterus gets a new uterus. Then they get pregnant, then they give birth to a child via C-section. The implanted uterus is then removed so that the person doesn't need to be on anti-rejection meds for the rest of their life.
The fundamental biological differences between cis women and trans women, especially in terms of anatomy and hormonal systems, present serious challenges that current medical research has yet to address. Trans women do not have the internal structures, such as ovaries, a functional cervix, or the naturally occurring hormonal environment needed to support pregnancy. While hormone replacement therapy can bring trans women's hormone levels closer to those of cis women, it does not replicate the reproductive cycle necessary for pregnancy. Hormone replacement therapy provides artificial regulation of hormones like estrogen, but it lacks the intricate balance of hormones that cis women naturally produce, which are important for pregnancy.
So far, these implants have only been attempted on cis women, but there's nothing that says it couldn't work on a trans woman. After all, my hormone levels are pretty similar to a cisgender woman, so why not?
Lilly also stated that the only thing holding back trans women from undergoing uterus transplants is the novelty of the science and the lack of available surgeons. This is an oversimplification.
The main thing in the way is that the science is new, so there aren't enough surgeons out there to do the testing. So it's less about if we can do it and more about when we can do it.
The current procedures for uterus transplants rely on a cis woman's natural biological structures, and they are far from routine. Even in cis women, these transplants require lifelong immunosuppressive medications to prevent rejection, and pregnancies must be delivered via C-section. Suggesting that it's just a matter of time before trans women can undergo these procedures downplays the risks involved. It's about overcoming biological and medical obstacles that still have no clear solutions.
Imagine a trans woman using her own DNA along with her partner's egg to create life. Wouldn't that be incredible?
Another point Lilly made was about the possibility of a trans woman using her own DNA along with her partner's egg to create life. She painted a picture of trans women being able to conceive using their DNA in the near future. This idea is speculative and not based on current scientific capabilities. Trans women do not produce eggs or sperm. Even the most advanced fertility treatments available today cannot use a trans woman's DNA for reproduction in the way Lilly described. The concept of using DNA to create life in this manner is similar to science fiction more than any medical reality we have today.
Some researchers think it's already possible and that it'll be attempted in the next year or two.
Lilly's arguments about the inevitability of pregnancy for trans women rests heavily on the notion that current obstacles are just temporary, waiting for the right amount of research and resources to overcome them. While it is true that medical science continues to advance, it is misleading to imply that pregnancy for trans women is simply around the corner. The uterus transplants performed thus far rely on an existing reproductive system that trans women simply do not have, and even cis women that undergo these transplants face significant risks. Expanding this procedure to trans women would require new surgical techniques and an entire overhaul of how the human body can be adapted for pregnancy.
Now, to be clear, I don't want kids. And even if this was an option, I wouldn't be interested. But there are so many trans women out there who want this, and they have just as much of a right to pregnancy as anyone else.
Lilly also claimed that hormone levels in trans women are similar to those in cis women. While it is true that hormone replacement therapy can bring estrogen levels in trans women to a similar range as those in cis women, this does not change the fact that these hormones are artificially introduced rather than naturally produced. The biological process of pregnancy involves a highly hormonal balance that shifts throughout different stages, something that hormone therapy alone cannot replicate. The artificially induced hormone levels do not create the same conditions needed for pregnancy, nor do they establish the physiological changes that occur in cis women's bodies during pregnancy.
But there's nothing that says it couldn't work on a trans woman. After all, my hormone levels are pretty similar to a cisgender woman, so why not?
Lily's comments included an assertion that trans women have just as much of a right to pregnancy as anyone else. While it's valid to acknowledge that some trans women may desire to experience pregnancy, this desire does not equate to biological feasibility. Pregnancy is not simply a right that can be granted. It is a biological process that relies on specific anatomical and hormonal systems. There are significant ethical, medical, and financial implications to consider. The risks to both the trans woman and the potential child would be great, given the experimental nature of uterus transplants, the lifelong need for immunosuppressive drugs, and the challenges of adopting a non-biological body to carry to pregnancy. This is the main reason why most trans influencers hate Lily Tino. Lily Tino has faced a lot of backlash from the general public and the trans community. The pushback shows the growing concern that Lily's behavior and public persona are damaging her reputation and negatively affecting the trans community. Many feel that she has become a terrible influence. One trans influencer called Bianca criticized Lily for the Disneyland video.
As a trans woman, I completely do not support this. I'm thinking if there's a reason that this conversation, this topic couldn't wait until you're out of Disneyland.
Another prominent criticism is that Lily's actions are fueling transphobia. While she is subjected to unjust transphobic comments, many members of the trans community argue that she is actively contributing to the hate directed towards them. Her actions have become a textbook example of how a small minority can damage the reputation of the entire community. It's the classic scenario where the 1% ruin it for the 99%. Her behavior feeds into hateful narratives and provides fuel for those who oppose transgenders, making it harder for the rest of the community to be seen as anything but controversial. This sentiment is displayed by another trans creator named Vegas, who expressed frustration with how Lily chooses to educate people about trans issues.
You whine and complain when you get misgendered in public, and somehow you think that talking about this in front of children is okay. I am a trans woman and I get it. Educating people may be an important thing, right? But there is a time and a place for that.
In one of her videos, Lily talked about the surgery in a very public and inappropriate setting, Disneyland, surrounded by children. Vegas pointed out that while education is important, there's a time and a place for it. And a family-oriented environment like Disneyland is not it. Holding up codes like cake pops and marshmallow wand in front of kids crosses a line, making it seem like she's more interested in shock value than genuine education. It's actions like these that make it difficult for other trans people to be taken seriously. They see Lily as someone who demands respect while simultaneously engaging in behaviors that make it harder for the community to earn that respect. The internal fight within the trans community over Lily's behavior is understandable. Some trans people have even gone so far as to question her authenticity, arguing that she might not truly be transgender. While such accusations are extreme and not helpful, they do show how Lily's actions have affected those around her. The community is frustrated by how she represents them to the broader public. Instead of uniting people under a common cause, Lily's behavior seems to be driving a wedge between them. Until she is willing to recognize the impact of her actions, the backlash is unlikely to subside, and the trans community will continue to struggle with the consequences of her behavior. TikTok has given rise to some truly unforgettable characters, but few spark as much debate as Fuzz99, Mal to those who know him behind the screen. With 445.6 thousand followers and counting, Mal has become a self-proclaimed champion for LGBTQ+ rights, body positivity, and gender affirmation. Admirable causes, sure, but somewhere along the way, his message gets tangled in a web of controversy, exaggerated theatrics, and, well, cringe. Lots of cringe. In a world where social media thrives on trends, Fuzz99 has carved out a unique niche with unapologetic energy, eccentric humor, and an open exploration of identity. He is quick and happy, maybe too happy, to explain terms relating to sexuality and the ever-increasing gender options to his many followers who sometimes request these definitions.
Probably a romantic too. I don't really know what that is.
People who identify as aromantic asexuals identify as aroace for short, and also fall under the asexual umbrella. Hey. People who identify as aroace experience little to no romantic attraction, aka being aromantic, as well as aroaces experience little to no sexual attraction, aka being asexual. Hey. Can aroace friends still be in relationships and date?
Known for their bold embrace of he, they pronouns, controversies, and a queer identity that challenges traditional norms, Fuzz99 redefines what it means to be authentic online. He's a creator who's unashamedly himself, loudly so. His fans, affectionately dubbed Fuzzballs, love his boldness and commitment to breaking societal norms. He draws attention to important issues like self-exploration and acceptance, which is commendable, but for every fuzzball cheering him on, there's a skeptic rolling their eyes at his over-the-top delivery, penchant for controversies, and tendency to make every moment about him. Maul has built brick by brick a niche that's as distinct as it is divisive. From his loud antics to his questionable grooming choices, there's a lot to unpack about his online presence. Is he a passionate advocate, misunderstood by the masses? Or has his quest for attention overshadowed the causes he claims to represent? We're about to unpack the chaotic world of Fuzz99, highlighting the good, the bad, and the downright perplexing. Buckle up, because this is one TikTok rabbit hole you won't soon forget. So let's dive into the whirlwind that is Fuzz99.
It's fun! I shouldn't have expected anything else from you.
First impressions matter, and Maul ensures you don't miss his. His signature "I'm glad you asked" delivered in a grating drawl while he practically climbs into your screen is hard to ignore. Add in his tendency to stomp his feet mid-rant and the constant yelling, and you've got a recipe for sensory overload. It's performative, sure, but often veers into a character of itself, leaving viewers more baffled than enlightened.
How are my pronouns he, they? Well, I'm glad you asked.
It's not just content, it's performative art, but not the kind you'd pay to see. Maul's persona hinges on being unhinged, as in being unapologetically loud, which can work in moderation. But with him, there is no moderation. I doubt the word even exists in his vocabulary. It's like he's constantly at a 10 when most conversations call for a 5. His exaggerated expressions, foot-stomping, and in-your-face delivery often feel more like a desperate cry for attention than genuine engagement. Advocacy doesn't have to mean shouting over everyone else in the room or at the other end of the screen, and yet that seems to be his default setting. Fuzz99 is that TikToker who thinks they can scream loud enough to make an impact. The reality? They're just yelling for attention, and the noise is unbearable. Let's get this out of the way. His whole chaotic "I'm different" persona is tired. This TikToker genuinely looks traumatized by his yelling. Just watch this, I'm sure you won't blame them.
Our pronouns don't equal your gender! I can say that louder for y'all in the back if you want me to, too. You can identify as any gender you want and use whatever pronouns make you feel most comfortable. Meaning you can identify as a male, but use she, her pronouns if that's what you like. I identify as just me. Whatever that is. I'm just me, baby. And I like to use gay as an umbrella term, like how queer people use queer for themselves. Because that's what feels right to me. Duh.
We get it, you're unapologetic. But it's hard to be impressed when this same shtick is recycled over and over in increasingly obnoxious ways. Okay, maybe different LGBTQ topics, but still the same sort of delivery. Lots of yelling, lots of emojis, plenty of flags everywhere, the silly jokes that genuinely make no sense. His content is like an unfiltered meme machine that never knows how to stop. But let's take a step back to where it all started. Before Maul was Fuzz99, the queer activist and self-proclaimed spokesperson for the misunderstood. Maul's early videos reveal glimpses of his transition from a woman with long hair and a wardrobe of feminine clothes to the person he is now. There's nothing wrong with embracing change, of course. Transitioning is deeply personal, and his willingness to share parts of that journey deserves some credit. Yet, even this is presented with the same over-the-top energy that makes everything he does feel performative. Take, for instance, his newly formed habit of cutting his hair into spooky or holiday-themed styles and turning every snip into an event. Sure, self-expression is great, but do we really need a play-by-play of every haircut?
Spooky, spooky haircut. Spooky, spooky. Hey. Hey.
It's not revolutionary, it's hair. Similarly, his dramatic discarding of feminine clothes, complete with a filmed purge of white and black hangers, left many scratching their heads. What exactly was the message here? If he wanted to symbolize embracing color and individuality, wouldn't swapping them out for rainbow hangers have been more, well, on brand?
I like skateboarding. I like playing video games. I like making art. And I like getting fucked up with my friends.
These theatrics don't stop with his aesthetic choices. Maul proudly identifies as a skateboarder and artist, and has mentioned his love of getting effed up with friends. It's not exactly groundbreaking for a young person to enjoy a carefree lifestyle, but Maul isn't exactly young. At 28, pushing 30, the rebellious teen bit starts to feel less charming and more concerning. Being queer and creative doesn't excuse you from taking your life seriously. At some point you have to wonder, is this a persona, or is he genuinely stuck in perpetual adolescence? Their content is a potpourri of chaotic storytelling, not so sharp comedic timing, and relatable yet boundary-pushing commentary. Fans resonate with their ability to turn mundane moments into viral gold, while skeptics grapple with the nuances of their identity and relationship choices. But beyond the laughs and confusion lies a deeper message, embracing fluidity and celebrating individuality in all its forms. Again, to many, his whole he, they pronouns thing feels like a trendy accessory rather than a genuine expression of self. We're in 2025 and pronouns aren't supposed to be the punchline to a joke, especially when the humor behind it is built on self-mockery. Let's not even get into the whole body positivity gimmick, because while self-acceptance is important, there's a fine line between confidence and oversaturation. His entire act can be condensed into, hey, look at me, I'm trans-mask, I'm gay, but I have a girlfriend, and I use he, they pronouns, and my nana is homophobic, and I lost my sub-teaching job because I'm queer, but don't worry, I'm okay. Rainbows and flags and fuzzballs.
I got outed to my homophobic nana exactly a year ago today, and I had never talked about it on here.
Just how many times can you repeat the same tired message of I'm different before it just becomes predictable? Maul's videos often feature him stomping around his room or half plopped out of a window, yelling at his camera like it personally wronged him, and making exaggerated hand gestures that feel more like a performance than a conversation. The problem with this approach is that it alienates as much as it entertains. Advocacy, especially for marginalized communities, thrives on connection and relatability. But with Maul, the connection is often drowned out by the sheer volume of his delivery. His infamous I'm glad you asked opening is a prime example. It's meant to sound witty and approachable, but after hearing it for the 50th time, it comes off as rehearsed and insincere. Add in his tendency to lean uncomfortably close to the camera, and the whole thing feels more like a TikTok jump scare than a call to action. Let's not forget about his penchant for updating followers on every minor detail of his life. Spooky haircuts, birthday plans, what he had for breakfast. Okay, that was a bit of an exaggeration, but you get what I mean. These updates might be endearing in small doses, but Maul doesn't seem to understand the concept of restraint. Not every moment of your life needs to be content. When your audience starts wondering, why am I watching this? You've officially lost the plot. Also, why is there Venmo and Cash App in his bio? Is this some sort of money-making scheme? He doesn't run a charity, and he still lives with his parents. So, what exactly are people supposed to donate money for? Equipment to film your TikToks? Well, lately he's added these links to his Linktree rather than that being the first thing you see when you open his profile. And let's talk about those teeth. Look, body positivity is great, but there's a line between self-love and basic hygiene. His yellowing teeth and flat-out horrible brushing technique are distractingly bad, to the point where even Dr. Noel McIntosh might agree they could use some serious attention.
Why so many of you want to see me brush my teeth on here, but hey, give the people what they want. Whoa! My toothbrush versus my brother's toothbrush. Like, if your bristles look like that, I feel like you're brushing your teeth too hard. Alright, so first I'm gonna wet it. Now the real secret is, you gotta wet it one more time. Woo! Card! Open not. It has the juice. It has the juice. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing. Hey, baby, let me see those teeth. Woo!
The look on her face mirrors that of the many viewers who unfortunately had to encounter that TikTok video. Pro tip, Mall: if your message is worth hearing, don't let your oral health distract from it. One thing Fuzz99 can't be accused of is shying away from the complexities of identity. In an online ecosystem often dominated by surface-level discourse, Mall dives into lesser-known facets of gender and sexuality with fervor, educating his audience about terms and identities that many might not even know exist. From omnisexuality and being a demi-boy to sapphic history and intersex awareness, his content often feels like a whirlwind crash course in the ever-expanding vocabulary of LGBTQ+ identities. A random scroll through his TikTok or Instagram pages will have an array of LGBTQ+ lexicon jump at you in all their iridescent glory. If there's anything about Fuzz99, he doesn't hold back on his colors. He takes the awareness-raising part of his advocacy very seriously, too. Take omnisexuality, for example, a term often mistaken for pansexuality. It refers to the capacity to be attracted to individuals regardless of gender, but within awareness of gender as part of the attraction. Mall's exploration of this topic feels genuine. He breaks it down in layman's terms, often emphasizing the need for people to respect the nuances of how individuals identify. While some might roll their eyes at what they perceive as label overload, Mall presents these concepts with a sense of urgency, as though he's on a mission to ensure every identity gets its moment in the spotlight. However, his delivery can sometimes overshadow his message. His trademark loudness and performative style may alienate viewers who might otherwise engage with the content. The information's valuable, but the presentation can feel like a wall of sound, making it hard to absorb the depth of what he's trying to convey. Fuzz99 also tackles the concept of being a demi-boy, a gender identity where someone partially but not wholly identifies as male. Given his own trans-masculine journey, this topic seems particularly close to heart. He discusses the fluidity of gender with the conviction of someone who's lived it, often drawing parallels between his personal experiences and broader societal misconceptions. While his insights can be enlightening, there's a recurring theme of self-centeredness in his discussions. It's not uncommon for him to veer off into anecdotes about his own life, which, while relatable to some, can feel like a detour from the educational value of the content. Still, there's an undeniable passion in how he speaks about demi-boy identity, a passion that, at its best, can inspire empathy and understanding. Mall's foray into sapphic history and intersex awareness are perhaps some of his most commendable efforts. He's not just talking about trendy buzzwords here. He's digging into histories and identities that have long been overlooked or erased. His enthusiasm for sapphic history, the stories of women loving women throughout time, is palpable. He weaves in narratives of queer women from history, often pointing out how their contributions have been sidelined in mainstream accounts. Similarly, his focus on intersex awareness sheds light on an identity that is frequently misunderstood or ignored altogether.
Intersex Awareness Day was 2 days ago! God, we gotta go make your flag! I can't believe I haven't made the intersex flag yet. Intersex friends have bodies that don't fit into the stereotypical cis male and cis female bodies. Some intersex friends are assigned intersex gender. Others find out during puberty. And some can go their whole entire lives without knowing that they are intersex. Being born intersex, though, is about as common as being born with red hair, and is not any kind of birth defect. Being intersex is natural, and intersex people have existed since the dawn of time. However, the intersex flag has only existed since it was created back in 2013 by a person named Morgan Carpenter. The intersex flag is comprised of a golden field with a purple circle emblem and avoids referencing gender stereotypes in every way. The purple circle in the middle also represents wholeness, completeness, and potentialities of intersex people. They have a right to be who and how they want to be. And that, my friends, is pretty cool. Yeah! And we love all our intersex friends! Yeah!
Maul highlights the medical and societal challenges faced by intersex individuals, and reminds us of the existence of these people in a world with so many dizzying labels and flags. But as with many of his topics, Maul's execution sometimes undermines his intent. His passion can cause him to be rather boisterous, making it hard for viewers to separate the valuable insights from the noise. There's a fine line between being an advocate and being overbearing, and Maul often straddles or outright crosses that line. Maul's discussions on bisexuality and its many misconceptions are some of his more grounded pieces of content. He addresses the stereotypes. Bisexuals are like men and women equally, unfaithful or just going through a phase, yada yada, with a mix of humor and frustration. It's clear he's speaking from a place of personal understanding, which adds authenticity to his arguments.
What are some common lies about bisexuality? Well... bisexual people like men and women the exact same amount. Bisexuality isn't limited to just liking cis men and cis women. And bisexuality itself is a spectrum. Meaning, it is not 50-50 between what genders a person is attracted to. Some bi friends have a strong gender preference, and others are more fluid. Yeah. Hold on here, back on that gender thing. Last time I checked, bi meant two, which means they only like two genders because there's only two. The definition of bisexuality is a person who is attracted to two or more genders. Emphasis on the or more part. Meaning the minimum of genders a bisexual person can be attracted to is two. That is the minimum, baby. Just like how we live in a huge world filled with all different kinds of languages, someone who's bilingual means they know at least two languages, but that there's still so many more languages out there. They just know a minimum of two. Roll the train, me, please. Expansive. But even if a bi person is dating a man, that just means they're straight. Just because a bi person is dating a certain someone doesn't mean that their bisexuality goes away. They are still attracted to whatever genders that they are attracted to, and no matter what, they are valid as bisexuals. And we love our bisexual friends! Oh!
In these moments, Maul's delivery feels not as performative and more conversational. He manages to strike a balance between educating his audience and venting about the societal pressures that bisexual individuals face. It's a rare glimpse of Maul at his best. Passionate, informed, and relatable. Excuse the Cowboy Bebop part, though. Maul, or Fuzz99, has built a TikTok persona that thrives on relatability, often inviting his viewers into deeply personal aspects of his life. While his loud delivery and exaggerated mannerisms might overshadow his message at times, certain recurring topics in his content reveal a more complex, vulnerable side. His discussions about binders, his period struggles, and his so-called gender adventures are some of the most telling examples of his duality, offering both moments of education and self-reflection alongside his usual performative antics. One area where Fuzz99 has on lock is his commitment to educating others about binders, compression garments used by many transgender and non-binary individuals to flatten their chest and alleviate gender dysphoria. With a blend of enthusiasm and expertise, he walks his viewers through the do's and don'ts of binding safely, emphasizing the importance of proper sizing, limited wear time, and listening to one's body.
I haven't talked about binders in a while, so we're gonna talk about this. And I'm you should never, ever double bind. Don't do that. Do not put trans tape over your vest and then a binder, because that is super duper dangerous and can lead to your body getting hurt. However, if you have really large oobies and binders don't seem to work for you because your oobies just pop out of them, then you can use trans tape while you're wearing a binder to contour the outside of your body to keep your oobies in place. But again, never ever put trans tape over your chest and then a binder over it, because that is dangerous. And I don't want to see you or anyone get hurt.
For many younger viewers navigating their own gender identities, Mull's content on binders can be a lifeline. He explains concepts like trans tapes, binder breaks, the risks of overuse, and the importance of investing in high-quality brands, all in a tone that feels approachable and supportive. However, his insistence on calling his audience baby throughout his videos, even in these tutorials, can make the delivery feel infantilizing or overly familiar, depending on the viewer's perspective. Another recurring theme in Mull's content is his experience with periods, a topic he tackles with surprising candor. For someone who identifies as transmasculine, periods can be a source of significant gender dysphoria, and Mull doesn't shy away from sharing the physical and emotional toll they take on him. From the mood swings and cramps to the frustration of navigating gendered products like tampons and pads, he paints an unfiltered picture of what it's like to menstruate as a trans person.
My period is actively trying to kill me right now, and I'm terrified to go to sleep tonight because 2 nights ago I was woken up at 4 in the morning because it felt like somebody was pinching my stomach and my back so hard that it made me violently ill and wanted to puke and had heartburn and also had the chills at the same time and was scared and was going to check myself into a hospital because I literally was just so terrified from this pain that I was woken up to. And come to find out, this is a thing, which is whack. Was anyone gonna tell me this was a thing, or was I just supposed to experience it on my own? And then last night at 3 in the morning, I woke up to go pee, and as I'm at the top of the stairs, the thought of my period causing me harm and almost checking myself into a hospital popped into my head, and I fell down a flight of freaking stairs and landed in a radiator heater thing, and I am now injured, and my foot is swollen. I don't think it's broken, but I can't move, all because of my period. And now I'm terrified to sleep, and the suspect is gonna get me while I'm sleeping tonight. So if y'all don't hear from me by like Friday, know that the suspect won. Know that I don't know. We tried.
These moments can be eye-opening for viewers who may not have considered the intersection of menstruation and gender identity. Mull's willingness to speak openly about such a usually avoided topic is commendable, and it provides validation for others in similar situations. That said, his tendency to over-dramatize, complete with yelling, stomping, and his trademark camera invasions, can dilute the gravity of what he's trying to convey. If there's one aspect of Mull's content that truly encapsulates his personality, it's his so-called gender adventures. These are the moments he celebrates as victories in his ongoing journey toward gender affirmation, ranging from being addressed by his preferred pronouns to small gestures of support from his family. These stories are often where Mull is at his most endearing, his excitement when a stranger casually calls him young man, or his joy when a family member affirms his identity is rather dramatic, though genuine and infectious. In these moments, his usually performative energy softens, revealing a glimmer of the vulnerable human side that often gets lost in his more bombastic content. That said, Mull's framing of these wins can sometimes feel overly self-congratulatory. as though he's seeking validation not just from the people around him, but from his entire online audience. While it's heartening to see someone take pride in their progress, the constant need to broadcast these moments can come across as performative, diminishing the authenticity of the experiences.
Sue had another gender adventure. I did. Not only did I get to try on a bunch of suits and get fitted for my first ever suit, but my brother and my mother, for the first time ever, introduced me to both of their different co-workers in a gender-neutral way. Hey, my baby brother works at a suit store, and he is very prim and proper, in particular about suits. He's always been kind of an old soul his whole entire freaking life. So, that's just the way he is. Anyways, when we walked into the suit store, my younger brother was like, "Hey Bob, how are you doing today?" "Yeah, my sibling over here is looking to buy a suit." And I was just like, "Let's go! Yeah, bro, let's go!" So then I got measured and I got to try on a bunch of different jackets. I learned so much about suits. I didn't get misgendered or get any weird looks. It was a very positive experience. And after I went to the suit store, me and my other brother had to go and help my mom, who works with the elderly. I've never been to my mom's work. I don't know what it looks like. It was my first time there. So my mom was all excited and gave me a tour. And then I met her boss. And my mom was like, "Oh, hi, boss lady. Yes, this is my child." Mom. My jaw was on the floor. I can't believe she finally introduced me and recognized me as me and not somebody else. And I could tell that my mom and my brother were both nervous to introduce me in a gender neutral way because they were scared they were gonna mess up or hurt me. But they literally killed it, and they made me so proud and so happy and so seen and loved, and I'm so happy. Not just once, but twice in one day. That is a win. That is a win, guys. And to top it off, my mom texted me that one of the old people said, "I have a very pretty face." Like, I love old people. Thank you. Thank you for hyping me up.
Maul's relationship with his family remains a recurring subplot in his TikTok saga. While he often highlights moments of support, such as his brother publicly acknowledging his pronouns or his mom introducing him with gender-neutral pronouns, he doesn't shy away from calling out their shortcomings. His Nana, for instance, is still described as openly homophobic, while his brother is labeled as transphobic despite occasional gestures of acceptance. These dynamics provide a nuanced backdrop to Maul's content, illustrating the push and pull many LGBTQ+ individuals experience within their families. However, Maul's tendency to air these grievances publicly can feel exploitative at times, as though he's using his family's struggles with acceptance as fodder for content rather than addressing them privately. Maul's advocacy isn't limited to his personal experiences. He often sets his sights on larger institutions, with Disney being one of his more notable targets. In a now viral rant, he accused the entertainment giant of trying to erase trans stories, citing a lack of representation in their films and TV shows. Critics were quick to point out the irony of someone who often makes everything about himself, accusing a corporation of erasure without offering constructive suggestions for improvement.
Disney's refusing to air their new inclusive episode about a black trans athlete at a time when the world needs to hear this story the most. Not only are the visuals of this episode completely stunning, look, it's a little trans flag, but the actual message the episode gives will melt your heart.
Oh, we did everything right. No, we didn't. It's like creepy hologram Greer said. To get out, you must follow my rules. I'm trans. My very existence breaks Greer's rules, which means as long as I'm a member of this team, we'll never escape. This is all my fault.
Brooklyn, you don't have to bottle this up and take it on all alone.
It's just, how many doors? How many doors do I have to break through until they stop locking me out? I'm so tired.
Then let us support you the way you support us.
I don't want to make my problems yours. I don't want to be a burden.
That's exactly how I felt when I asked people to use different pronouns for me. Was that a burden?
Of course not.
Exactly. Most people were happy to step up.
We're here for you.
Yeah, Brooke.
Let us step up for you.
Yeah, Brooke.
We're here.
If I had seen that when I was a kid, it would have changed my life. Disney claims every Pride Month that they are our allies and that they support us in our community, but then go and shelve this episode over fear. Standing with our community means that you have our backs no matter what. You agree to help tell our stories and represent us and to fight when things are hard. This is not being a true ally or standing with our community. I'm calling out Disney to stand with our community and to release this episode because the world needs to hear this message more than ever. And I hope that we can make enough noise to help change their minds and for them to do what's right. Trans people are here. We belong. We matter. And our stories do not deserve to be erased.
On the flip side, his willingness to call out such a powerful entity speaks to his fearlessness as a creator. Whether or not you agree with his methods, there's no denying that Mal is unafraid to speak his truth to power, even if that truth is sometimes more about his own feelings rather than objective reality. Mal's content is a hodgepodge of contradictions. He's loud, performative, and often overwhelming, but he's also passionate, vulnerable, and deeply committed to his beliefs. His discussions about binders, periods, and gender adventures highlight the complexities of navigating the world as a transmasculine individual, offering both education and validation to his audience. For every moment of genuine connection, there's almost always a misstep that leaves viewers rolling their eyes or reaching for the block button. Ultimately, Mal's TikTok journey is a reminder that authenticity comes in many forms, and that even the most well-intentioned creators can struggle to find the right balance between advocacy and performance. Whether you love him or find him insufferable, there's no denying that Fuzz99 is a uniquely polarizing figure in the online world. Every now and then, Mal takes a break from gender and sexuality discourse to dabble in lighter topics like Fortnite and Mac Miller's music. These tangents offer a breather from his usual content, giving his audience a chance to see a different side of him. His Fortnite commentary is, unsurprisingly, loud and chaotic, much like his approach to everything else. Whether he's ranting about the game's updates or celebrating a particularly satisfying victory, it's clear that gaming is more of a hobby than a passion. Still, it's refreshing to see him engage in something purely recreational, even if it's delivered with the same intensity as his advocacy. His love for Mac Miller, on the other hand, feels deeply personal. Mal often references Miller's music as a source of comfort and inspiration, sharing snippets of lyrics or anecdotes about how certain songs have resonated with him.
Mackie's still number one for me, baby. Got real nervous for a second there. Woo! Chapel Roan had a very strong chokehold on me. I won't lie. I literally have Mac Miller's words and name tattooed on my body though, so I don't know why I was sweating. I wish Mac Miller was still here and we could have got a message from him.
He even has tattoos of the now late artist's lyrics on his arm. I don't like the execution of the tattoo personally, but if he likes it, then that's fine. It's one of the few areas where Mal lets his guard down, revealing a softer, more introspective side. Mal's exploration of gender, sexuality, and perception is undeniably ambitious. He tackles topics that many creators shy away from, bringing attention to identities and histories that deserve recognition. At his best, he's a passionate advocate who genuinely wants to educate and inspire. At his worst, he's an overwhelming presence whose delivery can overshadow his message. The key takeaway here is that Mal's content is a mixed bag. For those willing to sift through the noise, there's a wealth of valuable information to be found. But for others, his approach may be too grating to engage with. Either way, his willingness to tackle these topics, however flawed his execution may be, is some sort of proof of his commitment to the LGBTQ+ community and its ever-evolving scene. Fuzz99 isn't just a TikToker, he's a symbol of the messy, beautiful complexity of being human in the 21st century. And whether you're laughing, scratching your head, or both, one thing's for sure, he's impossible to ignore. Sometimes, many times even, he has a good message hidden under all those layers of cringe and exaggerated expressions. Like in his New Year message, he urged people to take self-development one day at a time, instead of banking on New Year's resolutions that usually don't get past January. It was a pain to get through the entire video to get to the message, but the message was there regardless. Just watch this and let's see what you think. That's if you're able to watch it all in one sitting without puking all over your screen.
New year, new me, right, guys? No! Ah! Stop saying that! Stop, bro!
Why?
It's not new year, new me. It's new day, new me.
Huh?
If you keep saying new year, new me, you're just gonna be burnt out by the end of January and put it off till next year to deal with. Changing yourself and working on who you are takes time. So take it day by day, working on yourself little by little. Little baby steps, man. And then when you look back, you'll see how far you've come. Sure, maybe you messed up yesterday, but today is a new day. Yesterday doesn't matter. It's what you do today. Maybe one of your videos flopped. Today's a new day, so get up and try again. Don't wait a whole year. Get up! Today's a new day and you are a new you.
Fuzz99's content doesn't challenge or innovate, it just exists as a series of cringy, overdone moments that feel more like forced content than real creativity. The fact that so many people are eating it up says more about the state of TikTok culture than the value of his work. How has he managed to rake up 445.6 thousand followers on TikTok? That's a curious topic. He openly identifies as transmasc and as an LGBTQ influencer. At this point, he's less of an influencer and more of a content factory cranking out whatever will get a reaction. Is it funny? Sometimes, but let's be real, it's mostly just loud for the sake of being loud. And honestly, there's nothing revolutionary about that. His most viewed TikTok with 29 million views starts with a goosebump-inducing, hi, and proceeds to talk about hate being the reason why his comments are off. Like, hello, have you tried not being cringe? And stop calling everyone baby. Cringe is subjective. What some people call cringe might be pure gold to others. In fact, Fuzz99's chaotic humor and over-the-top energy are the point. They're polarizing on purpose. His content thrives on being loud, messy, and unconventional, which is why it hits so hard with the fuzzballs. Yes, his core audience have a name, fuzzballs. I'm guessing the fuzz comes from the tiny hairs that now graze his chin. Yes, the same one he's obsessed with darkening. Just stop forcing what isn't there, okay? While Fuzz99's content has amassed a loyal fanbase who adore his unique style, not everyone's a fan. Critics often label his videos as cringe, too exaggerated, too loud, too much. But is that not the essence of TikTok itself? Not many haters agreed, as his TikTok account got banned sometime in June 2023, causing the creator to fight tooth and nail to get it back. It's almost like it fueled him to push even harder and put out more content, much to the chagrin of said haters. In 2022, he chose to leave TikTok because of the immense backlash he was facing, but many just chalk it up to attention-seeking behaviors.
Fuzz99 has left TikTok. So Fuzz99 just made a video saying that they're leaving TikTok because of what someone who doesn't like them did. They didn't really clarify what the person did, but they said that the police are involved and the police advised them to leave TikTok for a bit.
But I currently am being advised by the police to take a step back from TikTok. I have to take a break for a little while until a lot of this hate calms down. It might be a week, it might be a month, it might be a year, it might be forever. I truly don't know.
Critics haven't exactly been proven wrong yet, seeing as he has stuck to his brand of filming out of windows. What is that? A metaphor for coming out of the closet? It doesn't help that his flashing his pearly yellows don't get him any girls. His teeth might have a separate fandom. What with it competing with sunflowers and all, even his mom had to step in. Still no luck, until maybe recently. Poor girl. Maybe get in shape, invest in dental hygiene, work on yourself, and don't chalk it up to being authentic. Not him getting up close and personal with the camera just to educate us on his preferred niche.
Buckle up! this because I'm about to blow your mind! Every creator on this app has something called a niche. They are known for a specific kind of content that they make. Some are well known and famous for making Minecraft videos. Some creators only make videos about them eating food. Some only make videos about doing makeup. And some like to bake cakes. I like to make videos about queer content. When I started making TikToks, my queer videos would always do the best. And I highly enjoyed it and was good at it. I have built a whole community here on TikTok. My followers wanna see all that gay shit. That is why they followed me. And I love learning things about our community and myself. And I love helping people. I really genuinely love helping people. Being queer isn't my whole personality. I like skateboarding. I like playing video games. I like making art. And I like getting up with my friends.
While he has highlighted the fact that creators usually show only one side of themselves online, it would be plain dishonest to claim that his entire personality isn't just him being queer. He claims to have diverse interests, but it's just one he keeps yelling at our screens for. But let's cut him some slack, he's only trying to stay authentic. In a space where authenticity often gets amplified to extremes, Fuzz99's so-called cringe is, in many ways, a deliberate, artistic choice. Love it or hate it, it sparks conversation, and isn't that the mark of a true content creator? Especially a content creator whose main niche is centered on gender, sexuality, and people's perception to it. As ordinary as wearing a suit is, he found a way to make it into a whole thing where he pops open his camera and makes a fuss about getting to wear a full suit for the first time for a relative's wedding. Clothes are just clothes, right? Well, this guy clearly thinks it's a big deal.
Sue had another gender adventure. Guys, I got to wear my first ever full suit that was mine. It wasn't stolen from my dad's closet. One of my cousins on my dad's side just got married, and her wedding was the first big wedding on my dad's side of the family. I knew months ago that I wanted to and was gonna wear a suit to the wedding, but I was a little nervous to do so, because I kind of had the only queer cousin on my dad's side, and I didn't know how the rest of my cousins were gonna react. I knew a bunch of my cousins were also wondering what the heck I was gonna wear, so that also made me nervous because I felt like I had to show up good looking, you know what I mean? A lot of pressure being the queer cousin, man. Anyways, it was a little weird when I first got dressed in a suit and was matching with my brothers and my dad, just because I'm not used to matching with my dad and my brothers. But we looked cute all stuffed and crammed in the back of the car together. When we got to the wedding, though, most of my cousins didn't say anything, except for my two older guy cousins. I had walked up to them to go say hi, and they were like, yo, look at you, bro. Look at you in a suit. How you feel, dude? Pretty good, bro. You know, I mean, I've never worn a suit before. This is my first ever suit. So I'm not, like, 100% confident, because, like, I don't know how to wear it. I don't know what I'm doing. But, like, it feels good. And then my other cousin who was standing there was like, here, bro, let me see your sleeves. Let me see your sleeves. Yeah, here, let me see them real quick. Yep, you're just, there you go, bro. That's how you're supposed to wear them. I got you, man. Now you're looking real good, bro. I'm like, The fact that my older cousins were hyping me up and helping me fix my suit to look good just, like, really meant a lot. And, like, I love them. I was so scared to wear that suit, and my mom didn't know what to make of me in a suit. She didn't hate it, but she wasn't like, oh my god, you look so handsome, you know? So having my older cousins hype me up and help me look good in my suit just meant the world. They probably didn't think twice about it, and it was just such a small little gesture. But it truly was a really big gesture, and made my whole experience, honestly. But yeah, I look pretty damn sexy in my suit, baby. Yes, sir! Let's go.
Many have told him to go get a life, especially following a video in 2023 where he claimed he's been putting TikToks every day since January 2020. His caption was rather heartfelt too. Well, kudos to him for consistently annoying his haters. Though I'm sure it must have come at a price, his mental health.
It's been 3 years of making TikToks every single day, and I physically and mentally don't know how I'm still doing this.
Sometimes the haters take it way too far, as he referenced being hate crimes and causing him to lose his job as a substitute teacher. Maul frequently frames himself as a martyr for the LGBTQ+ community, claiming to be misunderstood and vilified for no reason. But the reality seems more nuanced. For one, his dismissal as a substitute teacher raises eyebrows. He moved to address it candidly, although he first dances around the issue, leaving people to speculate. Several takes went on about losing his job, but it was subsequently put to rest by his 20-minute YouTube video where he describes the harrowing experience of being hate-crimed. An unnamed source emailed the school where he worked pictures, thirst traps, culled from a video that was 4 years old at the time. Again, even the verity of this is in contention, as there are YouTube comments claiming a student from the school debunked his claims. Many people never got around to hearing out what he did to warrant it exactly, but just assumed he might have weirded out staff and students alike. Fuzz99 is like that unfiltered, spicy flavor you either love or you don't. For people who like things clean-cut, structured, or easily digestible, his content might be a bit too much to handle. He's not about fitting into neat boxes, he's all about breaking out of them. But that's what makes him stand out. He's definitely an acquired taste, and for those who are open to the chaos, it's a whole vibe. It's like if you're willing to embrace the mess, you're rewarded with something real and raw. For the others, though, it might just seem like a lot to process. And honestly, his comment section on any given day sounds like the perfect reflection of Fuzz99's whole vibe. Divisive, chaotic, and full of passion from both sides. That's the real magic of his content, though. It sparks conversation, whether it's love or hate. It's almost like he's a walking debate, and that's not easy to do in the world of quick-scroll content. At his core, Maul positions himself as a champion for LGBTQ+ rights and body positivity. These are important causes, and his passion for them is evident. But the way he goes about it often undermines the very message he's trying to send. Instead of educating and empowering, his exaggerated mannerisms and over-the-top persona play into the worst stereotypes about queer people being too much. It doesn't help that much of the LGBTQ+ community has distanced themselves from him. He even claims they do so to pander to the straights. But that couldn't be further from the truth.
It's so weird that VIP thinks they're so way too cool to do this!
While Maul claims he's vilified for no reason, the reality is more nuanced. People don't hate him for being queer, they're frustrated by how his antics reflect poorly on the broader community. Being loud and proud is one thing, but when it crosses into caricature, it stops being representation and starts being a problem. Maul's passion for advocacy is undeniable, and it's often buried under layers of staginess. His content feels less like a genuine attempt to educate and more like a desperate bid for attention. And that's the real tragedy here. Beneath the noise, there's likely a thoughtful, well-meaning person who deeply cares about the issues he champions. But that person gets lost in the performance. One of the most glaring examples of this disconnect is his tendency to frame himself as a martyr. Maul frequently paints himself as a misunderstood outcast, claiming people hate him for no reason. This narrative might earn sympathy from his core fanbase, but to outsiders, it comes across as self-pitying and disingenuous. Advocacy isn't about centering yourself in every conversation. It's about lifting up the people you're advocating for. He deserves his flowers, as not many things are as annoying as Fuzzy's "I'm glad you asked" drawl. Nobody asked, okay? Just leave our For You pages alone. Maul's content is steeped in LGBTQ+ advocacy, but the execution feels off. Yes, it's essential to promote body positivity and gender affirmation, but when that becomes the entirety of your personality, it can come across as one-dimensional. There is a fine line between representation and reducing yourself to a walking, talking hashtag. What makes this more troubling is the backlash from the LGBTQ+ community itself. Many queer creators have openly distanced themselves from him, criticizing his exaggerated expressions and cringe energy for perpetuating negative stereotypes. It's not that people hate him for being who he is, quite the opposite. The issue lies in his desperate need for attention, which manifests in over-the-top dramatics that overshadow his message. And the plan to carry fuzzball toys around for fans who recognize him? While it's undeniably quirky, it's also a little much. The gesture might resonate with his core fanbase, but to outsiders, it reeks of a desperate attempt to stay relevant at a platform that thrives on fleeting trends. Here's the thing, Fuzz99 does have potential. When he dials down the theatrics, his passion for advocacy shines through. He has a platform, and with it the ability to educate and inspire. If he could strike a balance between being relatable and being loud, he might find himself resonating with a broader audience. It's not about silencing him, it's about refining the message. Less martyrdom, more meaningful conversations. Less look at me, more here's what matters. Because at the heart of it, Mal seems to genuinely care about making a difference. It's just buried under layers of unnecessary noise. So Mal, if you're watching this, take a step back, reflect, and maybe, just maybe, invest in a good toothbrush. We don't hate you. We just wish you'd tone it down and let your true self shine. For all the noise, controversy, and antics that Fuzz99 stirs up, it's easy to forget that there's an actual person behind the screen. A person with feelings, struggles, and a story that, like all of us, is far from perfect. It's tempting to zero in on the annoying quirks and larger-than-life performances, and several YouTubers have done just that, often rightly pointing out the cringe-worthy aspects of his TikTok presence. But perhaps what's more interesting is peeling back the layers and seeing what we can learn from Mal. Not as the TikTok sensation, but as a flawed, emotional, and deeply human individual. Some might say that he's disturbed, hence the need for an outlet like TikTok. Take, for instance, the aftermath of the US elections, a tense and overwhelming time for many. Mal, like countless others, was grappling with fear and uncertainty about what the political future might hold. In the midst of his collective anxiety, he shared that he'd gotten his period, an intensely personal experience for someone who identifies as trans-masculine. It was raw, vulnerable, and undoubtedly frustrating for him. Adding to the emotional weight, his supposedly transphobic brother showed up at his home, accompanied by his girlfriend and their baby.
Hi. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Cotton Eye Joe. Great song. Yeah, so after the elections happened, I fell into an unwell downward spiral and went to go fall off the face of the earth like I always do. I get off the internet, I talk to my friends, I do things that make me happy, but I wasn't able to fall off the face of the earth like I normally do because my transphobic brother moved back home and brought not only himself, but his girlfriend and her baby with them, which made me feel suffocated and overstimulated, and I wasn't able to process all the feelings I was feeling from the election. Which then, of course, when it rains, it pours. And I got my period. And that very same night, I got my period. My cat Goose, who has been with me for 19 years and has been in a bunch of my videos that you've probably seen, unfortunately died from her battle from cancer that very night. Which then resulted in a very big fight. Because I felt like I didn't have space to process all of the emotions I was feeling. So I ran away for 3 days and my queer friends took me in and I was able to have the space to process all of my emotions. And we ended up channeling all our emotions into going to protest for trans rights. And I met a lot of cool trans people and queer people. And it's truly what I needed to feel better. Taking a mental health break, surrounding myself with my loved ones, and doing some good in this world have all helped me feel better. And you better believe that this hat is gonna be visible on my head for probably the next 4 years, you know? So.
Behind the terrible Cotton Eye joke, it's not hard to imagine how isolating that must have felt for Mal. The tension of an already fraught sibling relationship, combined with the hormonal and physical toll of menstruation, would test anyone's mental health. Was it self-centered to frame these events around himself? To intertwine his personal struggles with the broader context of the elections? Perhaps. But in that moment, he wasn't Fuzz99 the TikToker. He was just Mal, a human trying to make sense of a world that often feels overwhelming and unkind. One of the most poignant glimpses into Mal's humanity also popped to the surface when he revealed that his beloved cat was dying of cancer. Pets are more than just companions, they're family, offering unconditional love and comfort in ways that humans often can't. The helplessness of watching a beloved pet suffer is something that many of us can relate to. And for Mal, it must have been a pretty heavy blow. Yet even in sharing this deeply personal loss, Mal's tendency to center himself in the narrative was apparent. It wasn't just about the cat, it was about how the cat's illness affected him. It's a recurring theme in his content, No matter the topic, it always loops back to Mal. While this habit can be grating, it's also a stark reminder of how social media often becomes a coping mechanism for its creators. For Mal, TikTok might not just be a platform to share advocacy and opinions, it might also be a space for self-regulation, a way to process his emotions in real time and find a semblance of control in a chaotic world. Mal's ability to weave his personal life into broader societal issues like the US elections or gender identity debates is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it highlights his vulnerability and authenticity. He isn't afraid to put himself out there, flaws and all. On the other hand, it can come across as self-indulgent, as though he's hijacking collective experiences to make them about him. But maybe there's something to learn here. Aren't we all in some ways guilty of centering ourselves in the narrative of life? Whether it's posting a heartfelt caption on Instagram or venting to a friend, humans have an innate need to be seen and heard. Mal's platform just happens to amplify this tendency, making it more visible and perhaps more irritating. What stands out most about Mal isn't his shouting or his drama, it's his relentless humanity. He's messy, emotional, and often contradictory. He claims to champion inclusivity but struggles with self-awareness. He wants to educate but sometimes alienates. He seeks connection but can't seem to avoid centering himself in every interaction. And yet that's what makes him so deeply human. Life is messy and people are complex. Mal is no exception. For all his faults, there's something undeniably relatable about his journey. The way he turns to TikTok as a form of therapy, the way he struggles to reconcile his identity with the world around him, and the way he wears his emotions on his sleeve. These are all things we've likely experienced, albeit in less public ways. If there's a takeaway from Mal's story, it's this: it's okay to be imperfect, but self-awareness is key. While his content can be polarizing, it also serves as a reminder of the importance of balance. Advocacy doesn't have to mean yelling. Vulnerability doesn't mean oversharing. And being yourself doesn't mean making everything about yourself. For those watching, there's also a cautionary tale here. Social media can be a powerful tool for connection and self-expression, but it can also magnify our flaws and insecurities. Mal's journey highlights the need to set boundaries, not just with others, but with ourselves. At the end of the day, Mal is just trying to navigate life like the rest of us. He may not always get it right, but who does? For all the annoyance he inspires, there's also a strange kind of admiration in his willingness to be unapologetically himself, even when it's uncomfortable to watch. Maybe that's his greatest lesson: to embrace your humanity even when it's messy and imperfect, and to find ways to grow, one TikTok at a time. As Mal approaches his 30s, he should realize he's at a crossroads. Does he continue on this path of exaggerated performances and relentless self-promotion? Or does he take a step back and reassess his approach? There's no shame in evolving. In fact, it's necessary for growth. Imagine a version of Mal who dials down the histrionics and focuses on meaningful conversations. Imagine a version of him who channels his passion for art and skateboarding into content that inspires rather than exhausts. There's so much potential here, but it's currently overshadowed by the noise. Mal has a chance to be a powerful voice for change, but it requires self-awareness and a willingness to grow. At 28, he's not a kid anymore. It's time to take stock of his life and decide what kind of legacy he wants to leave behind. Thank you for sticking with me through this whirlwind journey into the fascinating and frustrating world of Fuzz99. Love him or loathe him, there's no denying that Mal has carved out a unique, albeit divisive space in the TikTok universe. Whether he's inspiring change, sparking debates, or simply exhausting his audience, one thing's for sure: he knows how to keep us talking. So what's your take on Fuzz99? Is he a flawed but earnest voice for queer representation? Or does his approach ultimately do more harm than good? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
First of all, World Store, why are you misgendering me? I am not a dude. I am a transgender biological woman. Why are you being transphobic, World Store?
The internet is never short of weirdos. But Jasmine isn't just weird, he's the very embodiment of what cringe is. His entire existence is proof that TikTok's algorithm will reward literally anyone willing to humiliate themselves in front of a camera. Jasmine is a TikToker who got notoriety for the most embarrassing reason ever: not showering for weeks, and he brags about it like it's something he invented or so. What a creep. Even his mother is disgusted by him and told him to shower.
Okay, it's only...
Look at you, dude!
It's only been 19 days. Why are you being
I'm not being You literally smell. You stink.
And?
You smell like ass.
And?
Please take a shower.
No! It's against my religion.
Really? Just take a shower, dude. I'm serious.
No, I'm not showering.
You smell.
I don't care.
You reek.
What do I get out of showering? How does it benefit me?
You smell good. You feel good. Come on.
Think about it. You work hard all day, only to come home to an unbearably stinky sun. It's nasty, no doubt about it. But here's the weirdest part. Jasmine claims in most of his videos that he doesn't shower because his religion supposedly forbids it. Yup, you heard that right.
And?
You smell like ass.
And?
Please take a shower.
No, it's against my religion.
Really? Just take a shower, dude. I'm serious.
No, I'm not showering.
Well, I don't really know which religion orders something creepy like this. Christianity, Muslim, Hinduism, or Jasminism. The chances are it's the last one.
I'm not gonna shower. I'm on day 20. I'm not taking no shower, period. Y'all is mad. It's my body, my choice. I'm not taking a shower. And when my baby is born, they will not be participating in shower activities as well, like her mama. At the end of the day, y'all is jealous and y'all is mad. And y'all want to be like me so badly. But for some reason, it's some animosity towards me for no reason. I guess I just look good and I'm the queen. And I'm not showering.
The internet is full of strange people, but Jasmine has managed to set a new low bar for attention seeking. He's not just embarrassing himself, he's actively making everyone else question why they're even watching. And honestly, that's probably the only impressive thing about him. From flying across the country to confront a Dua Lipa fan over a petty Twitter spat, to claiming he's pregnant with Biddy's baby, Jasmine's cringe is as endless as it is baffling. I mean, who wakes up one day and thinks, you know what, I'm gonna spend hundreds of dollars just to show up at someone's doorstep because they don't like my favorite celebrity? It's fandom gone horribly wrong.
Can I talk?
He booked a flight from LA to Phoenix, ordered an Uber to show up to my house with intentions of hurting me and my family.
Can we just talk? I'm not trying to assault nobody.
He's been encouraging others to attack my family via online.
For real, imagine this guy opening his door, seeing Jasmine there and saying, "Sir, this is a Wendy's." The audacity's almost impressive. Jasmine is the grand master of rage bait, and it's not unclear to see his videos are only made for the views. But apart from his wildly crazy claims like being pregnant, every aspect of his life are aligned to get more controversy and spotlight from the internet. And this has been proven in one of his tweets saying being trans is an abnormality. The dude just presents himself as a trans woman and screams all day, every day on others to call him as a woman, then says trans is a mental illness. This is just ridiculous. Before we delve into the deepest rabbit hole, let's first see who Jasmine is. Jasmine is a TikToker with over 200,000 followers and counting. His real name isn't Jasmine, rather David Corrales, and he's born and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, until his family moved to LA. He has a Spanish origin, and he also speaks Spanish. But despite all this, Jasmine claims he is black, and the reason people hate on him is because he's black.
So at the end of the day, y'all just hate me because I'm black, and that's real.
Okay, wow. So now it's because he's black? Seriously? Let's unpack that nonsense real quick. First of all, Jasmine, people aren't coming for you because of your supposed skin color. They're coming for you because your behavior is straight up creepy. It's not hate, it's people reacting to the bizarre, cringe-worthy stunts you pull every day. Also, let's not forget the fact that you're not even black. The receipts are there, my guy. So what's the plan here? Are you just throwing this excuse around to dodge accountability? Because if that's the case, it's not just cringe, it's downright embarrassing. And just when you think the cringe can't possibly escalate any further, Jasmine takes a deep dive into even murkier waters. Buckle up because this next part is a masterclass in how to weaponize absurdity for attention. This dude is just the embodiment of selling your dignity for a TikTok view. No doubt about that. But promoting and celebrating something as nasty as not showering for weeks is just the grossest thing one could do.
So why does it matter if I shower? I haven't showered in 17 days and I still smell good. Like, literally. I told you I still smell good.
Okay, so that just happened. Did anyone else feel their soul leave their body for a second? Because I'm pretty sure mine packed its bags and walked out. Like the audacity to sit there, dig into your armpit, 17 days unshowered, and sniff it with pride? I can't decide if this is confidence or just an epic lack of self-awareness. And the dude's disgusted face tells a different tale than his mouth. But let's be real for a second. Who even thinks this is content? Oh, I smell good. Bro, you smell like a health hazard waiting to happen. Forget TikTok fame, you need a sponsorship from a soap company or maybe a hazmat team. And what's wild is that he's out here acting like this is a flex. Like, look at me thriving in my own stank. No, Jasmine, just no. The rest of us are over here trying to survive, and you're out here traumatizing noses through the internet. Even people who live with him are also disgusted by his actions.
Jasmine, stop. Take a shower.
Why?
Because you keep putting your arm up and I can smell it.
I don't
I'm not trying to be
smell.
mean, just take a shower.
I'm not taking a shower.
Just take a shower. It's normal. You wake up, you go about your day.
Not showering is one thing. Sure, it's gross, but it mostly impacts the unfortunate souls who have to share the same space with you. But Jasmine, he takes it to an entirely new level of absurdity by claiming that the supposed baby he's pregnant with also won't shower. Imagine that, inheriting stinkiness for a generation. Seriously, what on earth is this madness?
I'm on day 20. I'm not taking no shower, period. Y'all is mad. It's my body, my choice. I'm not taking a shower. And when my baby is born, they will not be participating in shower activities as well, like her mama. At the end of the day, y'all is jealous and y'all is mad.
Not only is Jasmine claiming to be pregnant, which, let's be honest, is already enough to fry your last brain cell, but now he's saying the baby won't shower either? I mean, this man didn't just jump off the deep end, he built a house there. And let's not forget the fact that this pregnancy is just another one of his clout-chasing stunts. Like, does Jasmine wake up every morning, look in the mirror and ask, how can I make the internet collectively lose faith in humanity today? Because if so, bravo, he's crushing it. Also, didn't this guy just say his religion doesn't allow him to shower?
You smell like ass. And
Please take a shower.
No, it's against my religion.
Now here's where things get really weird. The guy claims his lack of showering is somehow tied to his religion. What religion exactly? Jasminism? The Church of Stink? Because I can't think of a single belief system outside of maybe a very niche Reddit thread that would encourage you to go full caveman for clout. Here's what really gets me. This isn't just cringe. It's a calculated cringe. Jasmine knows exactly what he's doing, and he's doing it because he knows people will react. Rage bait is his bread and butter, and he's accomplished his goal. From World Star on Facebook to every clip pages on Twitter has been talking about this dude not showering. But plot twist, after all that noise, all the claims about religion, and the whole I'm too controversial to shower act, Jasmine finally takes a shower. And get this, the only reason he did it is because his bruja told him to. Yup, apparently if he doesn't shower, the spells and spirits can't do their thing or whatever.
I will officially be taking a shower, so watch the full video to see me, because I'm going to show up before and after. This is before, then y'all going to see me after I'm showered. So, I'm about to be taking a shower, and the only reason why I'm doing this is because my bruja person told me I have to, or else the spells and the spirits can't work. So that's the only reason. So don't feel complimented talking about, oh my God, Jasmine taking a shower. Ah! No, baby. Clock that T, hit that note, give it the girls Ariana. But yeah, I'm about to take my shower. So I'm gonna pause the little video. Then the next clip, it's gonna be me showered. And I'm gonna be in different clothes, and my body gonna be clean. And one thing about me is I take long showers because I'm not trying to stink. So yeah, next clip.
I mean, let's just pause for a second and unpack this. Jasmine, you said you wouldn't shower because your religion supposedly forbids it and encourages being stinky. Then you turn around and say the only reason you did shower is because your bruja told you to? This isn't just weird, it's peak cringe. Like, I genuinely don't know if this whole thing is some kind of satire or if he's just trolling the internet for sport. And honestly, I really hope it's satire, because if it's not, wow, this might just cement him as the cringiest person online. The internet, of course, celebrated his sudden leap into basic hygiene. But let's be real here. Taking a shower because your bruja told you to, that's not some epic redemption arc. It's just another ridiculous chapter in Jasmine's ongoing circus of absurdity. And Jasmine, being the master of rage bait that he is, milked this moment for everything it was worth. You could practically hear the TikTok views rolling in as he proudly declared himself clean for the first time in, well, who knows how long. I mean, congrats, I guess. But seriously, this whole situation feels like a fever dream wrapped in a bad sitcom plot.
Damn.
And here's the kicker. Instead of letting this be the end of his whole clout-chasing saga, Jasmine somehow managed to make it even more cringe. He went right back to his usual antics, doubling down on the chaos like nothing happened. It's almost impressive how consistent he is in being inconsistent. Alright, buckle up, because this next chapter in Jasmine's never-ending saga of chaos might make you lose a little faith in humanity. This is the story of how a petty Twitter feud spiraled into real-world insanity. Because, of course, Jasmine took it there. So here's the deal. Jasmine is a die-hard Barbs. And if you've spent more than 5 minutes on the internet, you know Nicki Minaj stans are on another level. They defend Nicki like their lives depend on it. And Jasmine, he's their poster child for taking things way too far. It all started with Kenzo, a Dua Lipa fan who dared to do the unthinkable. He posted a video on Twitter saying he hates Nicki Minaj.
You're on another coke rant, Nicki. You're retarded. The Barbs are tired of you. All the other fandoms are tired of you. You're a victim mentality bitch.
Now let's pause for a second. On Stan Twitter, this is as common as someone saying pineapple doesn't belong in pizza. It's opinionated, sure, but it's not exactly groundbreaking. Most people would scroll past or drop a snarky comment at most. But Jasmine, oh no, he saw this as his moment. Kenzo, probably thinking no one would ever take this seriously, decided to dox himself. That's right, he straight up posted his own address online, thinking it would be a joke. Spoiler alert, it was not.
Table stiff tanked. Oh. Stan Twitter, please come to my house. Right here. You have my address.
Instead of letting it go like any sane person would, Jasmine got all riled up and responded with his usual chaotic energy.
Kenzo, you scary ass You have the audacity to block me and then you try to tweet about me thinking I wouldn't have seen it. Then you hop on Twitter showing your ugly ass house thinking nobody will pull up. When I just beat the fuck out of Steven's ass at his college, bitch, you lost your mind. You nasty, slow, need a lobotomy so bad. I feel bad for your ugly ass, fat Ninjago, Spinjitzu master ass mama. You growing pubic hair on your chin, looking like Swain from Nino Cooney. You fat ass, Toko booty ass bitch. Instead of speaking on Nicki Minaj or Taylor, speak on your nasty mug hole. You talk about how you ain't do shit in your worthless life and be a ugly sob story popping his gums on Twitter. Shut the fuck up.
You know, this man lives for drama and controversy. It's like oxygen to him. So when Kenzo handed in this golden opportunity, Jasmine didn't hesitate. He booked a flight. Yes, you heard that right. This dude actually spent his own money to fly from Los Angeles to Arizona just to confront Kenzo over a tweet. Let's just take a moment to process how unhinged that is.
Plane ticket. I go at 4:30 and I'll come at 6 p.m. And by 7 p.m., this fight should happen. If my math is mathing. Cardi tanked. Nicki Minaj is the queen of rape.
Imagine waking up, checking Twitter and thinking, yeah, I'm gonna turn a random internet feud into a cross-country showdown today. Like, who does that? How obsessed with drama do you have to be to think this is a good idea? Jasmine didn't just take things too far, he completely demolished any sense of normalcy. But wait, it gets even worse than this. When Jasmine showed up at Kenzo's house, Kenzo and his dad were understandably not having it. I mean, imagine some stranger showing up at your doorstep, ranting about Nicki Minaj because of something you said on Twitter. What's your first reaction? For Kenzo's dad, it was to grab an axe.
You've been encouraging others on social media to attack my family.
We can't see.
Over Stan Twitter drama just because I said I don't like Nicki Minaj? Really? You booked a flight from LA to Phoenix? You spent a couple $100 on a flight. You went through TSA, you flew over here to Phoenix, ordered an Uber to my house to fight me.
You better stop it.
So picture this, Kenzo and his dad armed with an actual axe chasing Jasmine down the street like it's some kind of low-budget action movie. It's the kind of scene that makes you question how we even got here in the first place. And Jasmine, he's out there running for his life, probably regretting every decision that led him to this moment. But here's where things get even more ridiculous. The police eventually show up because how could they not? This is the kind of mess that practically demands police involvement. But instead of pressing charges, Kenzo decides to let it go. He doesn't file a report, doesn't escalate it further. He just lets Jasmine walk away and go back to LA like nothing happened.
Twitter. Twitter.
Have people get hurt. I understand you're here from out of state. I'm not sure where you can go, but...
You want to say hi?
No, not really.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Hold on, I'm recording the video. Okay, I update. Kenzo and his dad left. I guess they done talking to the police.
And here's the thing. What was Jasmine even hoping to achieve here? Did he think Kenzo was going to apologize? Was he planning to deliver some kind of passionate speech about the sanctity of Nicki Minaj's legacy? Or was this just another clout-chasing stunt, perfectly tailored for maximum internet attention? My money's on the last one. Because, let's face it, this isn't about loyalty to Nicki Minaj. This is about Jasmine's addiction to controversy. He thrives on it. Drama is his currency, and he'll spend as much of it as he needs to stay relevant. Flying across the country to confront a stranger over a Twitter beef isn't just bizarre, it's calculated. Jasmine knew this would get people talking, and he was right. But here's the wildest part. Jasmine didn't win anything from this. He didn't come out of this looking like a hero or even a particularly dedicated fan. He came out of it looking like a walking, talking cautionary tale about why you shouldn't let Twitter consume your life. And honestly, Kenzo and his dad chasing him with an axe feels like the only responsible response in this entire mess. If someone shows up at your house uninvited because of a celebrity stan war, some would say you're well within your rights to grab an axe and protect your home. The fact that Jasmine thought this was worth the effort just shows how far gone he is. At the end of the day, this whole fiasco proves one thing. There is no limit to how far Jasmine will go for clout. He turned a petty Twitter argument into an actual real-life event. And for what? A few more likes? A couple more TikTok views? The sheer absurdity of it all is almost impressive.
First of all, World Star, why are you misgendering me? I am not a dude. I am a transgender biological woman. Why are you being transphobic, World Star?
Now let's tackle one of Jasmine's most baffling layers of controversy. His identity as a trans woman. At first glance, you might think this is just another aspect of his life. But as with everything Jasmine touches, it's not that simple. This isn't just about identity, it's another calculated move in his never-ending quest for rage bait. Here's where it gets messy. This dude has publicly stated that being trans is a mental illness. He demands people respect him as a woman while simultaneously invalidating the very community he claims to be a part of. And if that doesn't make your brain short-circuit, he's also called himself just a boy in other posts. The contradictions are dizzying.
Since we're all gonna die, there's one more secret I feel I have to share with you. I did not care for The Godfather.
What?
Did not care for The Godfather.
How can you even say that, Dad?
Didn't like it.
Hey, Dad.
But let's not rush past this, because this isn't just absurd, it's manipulative. Jasmine isn't merely confused about his identity, he's weaponizing it. By making inflammatory statements like these, he's ensuring that people will argue, react, and engage with his content. It's not about belief or conviction, it's about attention. And in Jasmine's world, attention is currency. Now let's explore why this strategy works. Jasmine has mastered the art of dividing people. He knows that certain topics, especially ones as charged as gender identity, will spark debates, attract hate watchers, and keep his name circulating. It's like he's running a chaotic experiment to see how far he can push the internet before it collectively snaps. And honestly, the fact that it's working is both fascinating and horrifying. But here's the kicker. While he's out here stirring the pot, Jasmine also spends his live streams doing something that feels completely at odds with his supposed chaos persona. He begs for money. Yep, the same guy who claims to be a fearless disruptor is out here asking his viewers for cash.
Hi, I am a beautiful Philadelphia woman and I need assistance with food. If you could help me join my live, I really appreciate your assistance.
One minute he's demanding people call him a woman, the next he's pleading for donations on Venmo. It's giving dollar store villain vibes, menacing in theory but pitiful in execution. And while this might sound like an embarrassing low point, for Jasmine it's just part of the show. Every contradiction, every outrageous claim, and every chaotic livestream fits into his larger strategy. He thrives on the unpredictability. People don't tune in because they like him, they tune in because they can't look away. He's like a car crash on the highway. You don't want to stare, but you just can't help it. What's most frustrating, though, is the emotional whiplash Jasmine creates. One moment, you're laughing at the sheer ridiculousness of his stunts. The next, you're sitting there wondering how someone could possibly take a topic as serious as gender identity and turn it into a circus act. It's maddening. But maybe that's the point. Jasmine doesn't care about being respected or even liked. He cares about being talked about. By exploiting sensitive topics, he ensures his name stays in people's mouths, even if it's for all the wrong reasons. It's not authenticity, it's opportunism, wrapped in a layer of absurdity so thick, you almost forget to be angry about it. Alright, let's talk about the other most shocking and honestly disgusting claims. In one of his many attempts to grab attention, Jasmine shared that his mother had tragically passed away in a car accident. He even brought out a small urn, claiming it contained her ashes.
This is her. Her body was transported to Tijuana to get cremated. It's actually cheaper versus doing it in the country. So, here she is. She passed away in a car accident. And here's her remains. This is her now. We couldn't afford a funeral. And we didn't want to ask y'all for donations. Like, I was not about to, have people come for me talk about, you're going to use your mom's death for money. I am not having that. I'm not going to have people do me like that. I don't care. Here's my mom's urn. This is where her ashes are. I'm just so I really can't believe that people don't want to believe me, so I have to really show this.
For a brief moment, it seemed like Jasmine had decided to drop the chaos and show some genuine vulnerability. And honestly, it almost worked. For a split second, you might feel a flicker of sympathy for this man, because no matter how absurd he is, losing a parent is devastating. But as you start to process it, something about the whole thing feels off. Like, why is this guy live streaming his grief? Why does the urn look like something you'd find at a craft store? And why does it all feel so performative? Well, here's why. It's fake. The whole thing was just another one of Jasmine's stunts. Yup, he later admitted that not only was this story about his mother's death a complete lie, but the urn, that was from his dead uncle. And why did he do it? Because he was bored. Let that sink in.
About my mama dying. And I just said it. So the reason why I did this is because I don't know why. I was just bored, and then I recorded that video. Then I was like, let me just say that. I did not expect that video to blow up. I did not at all. And also, y'all do need to understand, this is a satire, rage bait account. I don't understand why people did believe me in the first place. But yeah. Nothing is off limits to me. I will rage bait or joke about something because at the end of the day, my content is my content, and yeah. But no, my mama is alive. Sorry to tell y'all.
He fabricated a story about his mother's death, not out of desperation or grief, but because he needed something to do. Like, let's pause for a second and really think about how unhinged that is. Most people binge watch a TV show or pick up a hobby when they're bored. Jasmine, he stages an elaborate lie about his mom dying in a car crash so he can clickbait his followers. This isn't just cringe, it's sociopathic. And the worst part, he brushed it off like it was no big deal. I wasn't serious about it, he said, as if that makes it okay. Jasmine, you told the internet your mother died. You made people feel sorry for you. You manipulated their emotions for clicks and views. And then you turned around and said, LOL, just kidding. How do you even justify that? Here's the thing. This isn't just another case of Jasmine being a troll. This is about him crossing a line that most people wouldn't even think to approach. Lying about something as serious as a parent's death isn't just controversial, it's outright disgusting. And his words just reaffirmed this for us. He will do whatever it takes to get more views and clicks. And what does this say about him? Well, it confirms what we already know. Jasmine will do anything for attention. There are no boundaries, no taboos, no limits to how far he'll go to keep people talking about him. Whether it's lying about his identity, pretending to be pregnant, or literally faking his mom's death, it all boils down to one thing: clicks. Every time you think the chaos is peaked, Jasmine pulls out a shovel and starts digging deeper. And this next stunt, it's not just scraping the bottom of the barrel, it's tunneling straight through it. This time he's dragged none other than P. Diddy into his mess. According to Jasmine, Diddy, yes, the same Diddy currently swimming in SA allegations and lawsuits, allegedly asked him to hang out. And not just that, Jasmine claims they actually did.
I also have another celebrity baby daddy who could possibly be my baby daddy too, as some of y'all know. We have The Weeknd, and this one, don't judge me, y'all. Please don't. I understand what he did, y'all. I didn't even know he did this until like a few days ago. Basically, my second possible celebrity baby daddy could be P. Diddy. He hit me up a few days ago, and I was like, oh shit, it's Diddy. I didn't even know the allegations or none of that before. But basically, Diddy hit me up. I pulled up.
Now, I need you to sit with that for a second. Imagine logging onto TikTok, scrolling past the usual cringe content, and landing on Jasmine casually dropping this bombshell. Like, where do you even begin? Is it the audacity to involve Diddy in his circus of lies? Or is it the fact that he says it with such conviction you almost believe him for half a second? But here's the thing. Knowing Jasmine, this is less about exposing some grand truth and more about stirring the pot for clicks. Because let's face it, this is classic Jasmine. His entire playbook revolves around attaching himself to controversy, and what better way to grab attention than to link his name to Diddy's? After all, Diddy is already in headlines for all the worst reasons, so Jasmine probably figured, why not throw my hat into the ring? Let's pause for a second though. Think about how reckless this is. Jasmine isn't just fabricating stories anymore, he's actively weaponizing the fact that Diddy is already in hot water. By claiming they hung out, Jasmine isn't just inserting himself into a scandal, he's trying to profit off of it. And honestly, that's a new low, even for him. But here's the real kicker. As ridiculous as this claim is, it's still doing exactly what Jasmine wants it to do. We're here talking about it. People are reacting, commenting, sharing. He's playing the internet like a fiddle, and we're all part of the orchestra. It's infuriating, but you have to admit, the man knows how to stir the pot. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think Jasmine even believes his own story? Or is this just another example of him throwing nonsense at the wall to see what sticks? Personally, I'm leaning toward the latter. This isn't about truth or even clout at this point. It's about chaos. Jasmine thrives on it. The more outrageous his claims, the more people talk about him, and the more views he racks up. It's a vicious cycle, and he's got it down to a science. And honestly, dragging someone like Diddy into this mess is peak Jasmine. It's reckless, it's disgusting, and it's exactly the kind of thing that keeps his name in people's mouths. Whether you're hate watching or just want to make sense of it all, you're still feeding into the madness, and that's exactly what Jasmine wants. So where do we go from here? At this point, it feels like there's no limit to how far Jasmine will go for attention. Whether it's faking his mother's death, refusing to shower, or now dragging a scandal-plagued celebrity into his orbit, he's proven that nothing is off limits. And the worst part, we're all watching, unable to look away from the train wreck.
Everybody just stares at me, and most people don't like me because I'm trans and punk, and nobody wants to be around me. I need someone in my life who will just spend 10 minutes to give me a hug. Ever! God damn! I am so... I can't do this. I can't do this.
In a world where mental illness is heavily stigmatized, especially in online spaces, having someone that gives a voice to the voiceless is a miracle that many could only wish for. In such a world, someone that knows your struggle and is bold enough to be loud for everyone else, whose voice speaks reassurance straight into your soul in the midst of the rough storms of stigma and discrimination, easily becomes a superhero of some sort. But what happens when this loud voice becomes a little too loud, and you find out that behind every video with the calm voice hid a bitter alcoholic with an abusive personality? Your superhero begins to look like what they really are, a supervillain. Well, this is the story of Lexity, an online personality who masked her animosity within carefully crafted videos with the sweetest words. Through the course of this video, we'll look at how she manipulated people and still cunningly demanded sympathy from her followers. Lexity is a content creator that identifies as omnigender. While she feels like a woman most times, she also does feel like a man. Before the allegations and controversy, Lexity, known offline as Anastasia Alexandria Athena Lenin, was carving out a digital space where raw emotion and personal expression were central.
Hey, sweetheart, I have a couple things to say. First of all, empathizing with someone you've hurt means feeling the way you made them feel, so you should be upset, and you should feel sad when you're apologizing to someone for hurting them. Also, an unsolicited apology means about 1,000,000 times more than an apology someone has to ask for. So if you really want to make amends, you should make the first move and take responsibility. Hope that helps.
Her platforms of choice were TikTok and Instagram, where she amassed over 430,000 followers. On these apps, she isn't just another influencer. She presented herself as a deeply sensitive artist, a trans woman navigating trauma, identity, and vulnerability in full view of the public. Her followers, who she affectionately calls her sweet peas,
Hey, sweet pea. Hey, sweet pea. Hey, sweet.
gravitated toward her instantly, with some followers saying things like, "Every time this creator shows up on my FYP, I just instantly blush. You need to be an alarm clock. Waking up to, hey sweet pea, time to get up and have a wonderful day. I had to restart the video because the lack of sweet pea threw me." Much of Lexity's early content centered around her music and poetry. On TikTok, she would perform spoken word pieces or soft monologues.
Silence. She sings to me, a cacophony of cavernous vacuity. And with my hands black and dead, I pick up what remains, and I hold those pieces once again. But still, silence stays the same. A wave never knows where the water goes, and yet pushed and pulled, it soon is shown all that it will need to know. Yes, a wave never knows where the water goes, but it will find its way to the sea.
Whether through a verse, a selfie, or a stream of consciousness post, Lexity cultivated an image of someone broken yet beautiful, misunderstood yet deeply in tune with others who had been hurt. Her music was another piece of this artistic persona. Though not professionally produced, it was deeply personal.
I feel like crying all the time, but when I see your face,
Apart from being a self-produced artiste, she's also good with musical instruments like the keyboard, the flute, the guitar, and she has a talent for beatboxing. Even when her words or vocals weren't polished, fans praised her for being vulnerable and real. To them, she wasn't just creating content, she was letting them into her soul. When Lexity started off on the social media space with her music and poetry art forms, she eventually pivoted into fun fact content. In these videos, she explained facts to her followers in very simple terms that were easy to understand.
Hey, Sweet Pea, so something's poisonous if you putting it in your mouth will harm you, and it's venomous if it putting you in its mouth will harm you. Not exactly, but most animals do use their teeth or mandibles to get the venom into your bloodstream. Hey, lovely. Just so you know, Rome wasn't like a good thing. It was a violent, expansionist, militaristic empire, or republic, or triarchy, depending on which time in history.
Lexity was more than just an online figure. To many of her followers, she was magnetic. She had a soft appearance with piercing eyes, bold makeup, and carefully curated outfits that gave her a distinct visual identity. But her allure wasn't only about how she looked. It was in how she spoke, how she listened, and how she made others feel seen.
Sweet Pea, have you been good? Because I feel like praising you. Does that sound wonderful? You strong, amazing individual. It's so wonderful for me to see you grow into the beautiful human being I knew you always could.
When she validated your experiences, it felt like healing.
Hello there, my gorgeous thing. You are absolutely divine, simply beyond belief. I promise you, there's never going to be another one like you, and you deserve to be someone.
She knew how to echo someone's hurt, mirror their insecurities, and reflect it all back as something worthy of love, and that was what drew people in. Lexity's blend of personal trauma, artistic expression, and identity content created a powerful connection with her audience. She positioned herself as someone who had suffered and was now using her voice to speak out, heal others, and fight injustice. But this also made the eventual fallout more complex. When someone builds influence on emotional transparency and pain, it's hard to separate the person from the performance, and even harder to accept when that same person is accused of causing harm. Diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, BPD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, Lexity often spoke candidly about her mental health on social media.
Sweet Pea, I have borderline personality disorder, and it's truly remarkable to me how little sympathy the symptoms of borderline personality disorder get. Like, rage is one of my symptoms, and I understand that it is entirely my fault when I express my anger in an unacceptable way, and I need to work harder to control my triggers, but part of that is putting myself in an environment where people are willing to work with me. I don't necessarily blame those people, but I do understand when people are bad for me, and they are bad for me sometimes. I'm not imagining my mental disorder, and I'm not imagining my triggers, and if you're not willing to work with my triggers, you can't be in my life, and that is a part of having sympathy for people who have mental disorders, specifically PTSD and BPD. That's what it means. And if you can't or aren't willing to deal with rage and someone's triggers, then don't be around someone who has BPD. Please, like, that's exactly what it means. And it is entirely our fault when we express our rage in an unhealthy way, but that's what the disorder means. I don't know what you expect from someone who says that they have BPD other than occasional extreme emotional episodes. That's what it means. I'm sorry if I hurt you. I'm sorry if I scared you. I have BPD. I'm sorry. I'm working on it.
She didn't just mention her diagnosis in passing. They were central to how she introduced herself to her audience and how she framed her experiences. For many of her followers, this openness was refreshing. It made her feel more relatable, more human, and in some ways more trustworthy.
So recently I've been posting a lot of very angry videos on here, and I'm sorry for that. Not really sorry, but I am thankful that you were here for me, that you heard me for once, because the reality was there's nobody around me, nobody like in my personal life that I knew personally listens to me.
She would get comments like, "Your authenticity is mutually beneficial. I'm able to give myself more compassion when I see others in myself, and vice versa. You're human, you're allowed to have feelings. I'm glad you at least have people here willing to listen. I find that my CPTSD often influences me to push people away. It's what our brain's wired to do at a young age to protect ourselves. I see you." But while her openness was often seen as a strength, it also created complications. Lexity's mental health became a double-edged sword. On one hand, it helped people feel less alone. On the other hand, it gave her a way to rationalize behavior that at times crossed boundaries. She puts a whole lot of responsibility on other people instead of herself. She admits that she would react in a more acceptable way, but goes on to make it the responsibility of people around her to work with her triggers. She used her mental illness as some kind of shield. Lexity would eventually come to be known as being manipulative and abusive. On January 2nd, someone named Marcella posted a video where she talked about her experience with Lexity.
Today, specifically, I'm in a really scary state of mind. Really, really scary state of mind. I got involved with a person that is online. I followed this person because I thought they were very attractive and interesting looking, and their videos were like very soothing to watch. And they posted a video of themselves like in crisis mode, and they needed someone there for them, and disclosed that they were in Southern Oregon, which I hadn't known about. I didn't realize they were so close to me, like they could have been anywhere. And so I reached out and I was like, hey, like, I can be that hug that you're looking for, because I want to help people. And I've been there, like we've all been there, and I think we've all felt alone. And sometimes just having a person to say that they...
Here, she makes reference to this video posted by Lexity.
So sometimes when people ask you to hang out, it's because they need someone, and I have been alone for so goddamn long, everybody just stares at me, and most people don't like me because I'm trans and punk, and nobody wants to be around me. I need someone in my life who will just spend 10 minutes to give me a hug. Ever! Goddamn! I am so... I can't do this. I can't do this.
Out of her desire to help people, Marcella reached out to Lexity to offer her that hug she so badly needed. She went as far as driving over 2 hours to get to where she would meet up with her. Now, one thing you should know is that, just like Lexity, Marcella was also someone dealing with her own mental health struggles.
Like, obviously therapy. I'm going to therapy, but it's quite a slow process, and I have a lot to work on. I have old trauma. I have extreme anxiety. And I have this attachment. I can't work on all of that at once, and I just want to be loved like everyone else. Like I being in love and being in a relationship has always been like my favorite part of life. And
Marcella was very much like Lexity in the sense that they both yearned for relationships. They both needed some form of emotional validation that could only be gotten from a romantic interaction. The only difference was that they had completely different ways of coping with emotional intensity. While Marcella sought steady emotional connection, Lexity's reactions were more impulsive and intense. This disconnect in their emotional coping mechanisms eventually became the foundation for the troubles that plagued their short-lived relationship.
I can tell myself all I want, that I will not tolerate being mistreated. But when it actually happens, there's a part of me that likes it. Like, I genuinely fantasize about being used. Just so I don't know if it's because I feel like I deserve it, or if it's just really familiar to me. It's really attractive to me to be submissive like that. But like, there's ways to fulfill that without actual mistreatment, so
Marcella had a submission fantasy and Lexity was a domineering person, so it's quite surprising that their relationship fell apart. On paper, it looked like a good fit. A submissive partner who craved direction and a dominant one who was willing to take the lead. But dominance alone isn't enough. Lexity's dominance came laced with controlling and abusive tendencies that quickly overshadowed any form of compatibility. I guess being abusive alongside being domineering isn't the spice Lexity thought it would be. Marcella talks about how the relationship started. On a live stream with another creator, she said that Lexity initiated the conversation that led to them talking about their interests in each other. It wasn't just a casual chat. Lexity knew how to make her presence felt and skillfully navigated the conversation to build intrigue. That initial connection grew rapidly, creating a path that would carry them straight into an emotionally volatile situation neither of them were ready for.
Shocked that I was looking at this person across the table, and we were just generally talking. I mean, it felt like a first date situation, you know, you ask like...
Just for like small talk, stuff like that.
Yep.
Okay.
At one point, she goes, "You're attracted to me, aren't you?" And I was like, "How could you tell?" And she said, "Because you're flirting with me." And so then that, you know, for me, that opened up like, okay, obviously we're both attracted to each other, so what is this gonna look like?
Lexity knew very well how to use her influence. She was also interested in Marcella, but she coyly made it look like Marcella was the only one who was interested. It would have been easy to just say, "I'm interested in you," but Lexity instead played a psychological game. She pointed out that Marcella was flirting with her, putting all the vulnerability on Marcella while conveniently appearing passive. This subtle manipulation made Marcella feel like she was the one making all the moves, while Lexity sat back and absorbed the admiration.
So I met this person in a public location. We had dinner. I was quite nervous because I've never met like a public figure, you know. Obviously, there's a power dynamic happening there. And I am pretty good at refraining from developing like parasocial relationships. Like I watch people online, but I don't really like allow myself to become attached to them.
Being careful about getting attached to online personalities is a smart thing to do. But for Marcella, she let her guard down this one time, and that's because of Lexity's status. Sure, she wasn't a big-time celebrity, but she was a known TikTok and Instagram influencer to Marcella. That level of recognition, combined with admiration, made it easy to overlook red flags. Just being in the presence of someone she had followed for so long created an emotional haze that blurred rational judgment. Marcella also had a checklist for the type of person she wanted to be in a relationship with. And according to her, Lexity fit perfectly into the mold. From emotional intelligence to creative flair and even physical attraction, Lexity ticked all the boxes. So when the relationship began, it didn't feel rushed or impulsive to Marcella. It felt like the universe had handed her a perfect partner. Unfortunately, surface-level compatibility didn't equate to long-term emotional stability.
To become attached to them. So I felt like it was fine because I was just seeing this person as a person that just needed help. And we hit it off pretty well. Like, we were obviously both into each other, which was exciting for me because I've been spending a lot of time yearning for a partner and like creating a picture in my head of what this partner would be like in a physical sense and also in an emotional sense and in intelligence wise. And she like hit the nail on the head with most of it. Which made me feel like it was meant to be.
Within days of being acquainted, Lexity and Marcella got into a relationship that did not last for more than 2 weeks. Lexity has expressed how one of her triggers associated with BPD was being pushed away. She always responded terribly to loved ones wanting to give her space, and her reactions could be terribly over the top. Instead of communicating boundaries or fears calmly, she would spiral. That pattern of immediate intensity and emotional escalation ultimately set fire to whatever potential their relationship may have had.
So my main experience in the dating world is that people will assume I'm their ex and then push me away constantly because of it. And I'm nothing like that person, but when they push me away enough, I eventually get upset, which I told them would happen because I have CPTSD and BPD. And one of my main triggers is people pushing me away because I have abandonment issues, goddamn, and I tell them that. And that's not an excuse for me overreacting. It's still my responsibility to be clear with my boundaries and leave before I get to the point of overreacting, right? And I don't ever do that. I'm just too compassionate, and I stay to the point where I blow up, even though I know it's going to happen and I warn them that it's going to happen. And when I do blow up, they blame me entirely and forget that I'm overreacting. Not reacting. I'm reacting to something, okay? I might have an unreasonable reaction that isn't okay to do, but it is a reaction to something that you did. You stepped all over my boundaries. I told you that if you kept pushing me away, I was going to react this way. I know what my triggers are, and you entirely ignored that because you assumed I was your ex. And maybe the problem with your ex wasn't that you got overcommitted to someone. It's that you got overcommitted to a person who was going to treat you like get committed to someone or don't be with me. I want a life partner, not a romantic partner, not a fuck buddy. And if we're going to be friends, I want you to be clear about that. And if we're going to be nothing, please be clear about that. Like, if you want to be in a relationship with me, you need to want a life partner, someone who you are willing to share every single aspect.
While this sounds noble and all, this line of thinking is very problematic. For someone who knows that being pushed away is a major trigger for her, the most sensible thing to do when that happens would be to actually leave, not hang around and explode unchecked. Life partners don't just fall from the sky. Relationships have to be worked on, discussed, and nurtured. But Lexity clearly did not get the memo. She dove headfirst into a relationship days after meeting Marcella and exploded in rage when she didn't get the emotional validation she demanded.
Skewed. But it was so loud and went on for so long that at one point my ears were ringing. And of course, as I mentioned before, I was dissociating, so there was a lot of stuff that was said that I don't even remember. What I do remember was, as I said before, I would take accountability and say, you know what, I should have consoled you. I'm sorry, I understand why you're upset. Next time I'm going to do better. She would calm down. She would say, I'm so sorry for blowing up on you. You're right, you did nothing wrong. And then she would circle back around and she would say, you know what, you. And then she'd go off and the same ramblings over and over again. It was just the same circle.
Lexity's uncontrolled emotions made her use Marcella verbally because she did not get the response that she wanted from her. Instead of listening and understanding, she took Marcella's honesty as rejection. And that rejection, even though gently expressed, was enough to trigger Lexity into a spiral. The emotional explosion that followed wasn't just a tantrum, it was a traumatic verbal assault that left Marcella deeply shaken.
So to me it was like being screamed at and scared, and then, oh, she's calming down, okay, everything's gonna be okay. And then screamed at again, and okay, everything's gonna be fine, I'm safe. And then screamed at again. I don't know how many times that happened. It was at least 3 or 4. At one point she called me a whore. I don't know why. At one point she made the motion of like spitting in my direction.
Lexity hurled a tsunami of bad words at Marcella, so much that she couldn't remember some of the things that were said to her. It must have been a really scary experience for her. The sheer volume and intensity of the yelling left her in a state of emotional disassociation. As if verbally wasn't enough, Lexity took it a bit further into berating her, talking to her like she was a child, as if her pain wasn't valid. It was an emotional breakdown disguised as a power play.
And then at another point, I was cowering right here on the floor. Okay, I was in like a fetal position, and I told her, please stop screaming at me. I really need you to stop screaming at me right now. And she said, she switched up, and I'm sure you've seen this in her lives, she switched from yelling to a baby voice, and she said, if I talk to you like this, are you gonna understand me? Do I need to talk to you like a baby? Is it okay if I talk to you like this? Please look me in my eyes and tell me that.
This was Marcella's third video discussing the issues she had with Lexity. Unlike the first one, where she was almost trying not to be too expository about the abuse she faced, she decided to be more open. And that's because Lexity publicly downplayed the severity of what she had done. This shift in Marcella's tone wasn't just a storytelling evolution, it was a reaction to gaslighting and an attempt to reclaim her narrative.
Let me be clear. At this point, Marcella is like literally just trying to get attention from my fam. Okay? At this point, that is all that's going on. Okay? Do not go over there because that's what's going on. You know? Like it's fine that she wants to talk about stuff, but like a bunch of people coming over here and being like, "Oh, Marcella. Go over there or not." Okay? I'm not going to spend my entire life apologizing for something that I've already apologized for Okay.
Mind you, Marcella was respectful enough to ask for Lexity's permission before posting about the things that happened in the relationship, and she gave Marcella the go-ahead. It's important to emphasize that Marcella didn't set out to cancel or shame Lexity. She only spoke up after Lexity minimized her pain, and even then she sought permission, showing that her intention was never to smear but to be heard. That level of courtesy, despite what she had endured, speaks volumes about her character. Her response clearly shows that she's aware of the fact that she's an abusive person. It's really not something that she would even claim ignorance of. She tells Marcella, "You are always welcome to tell anyone and everyone about any of my behavior, especially the abusive stuff. I want you to be able to get support when I mess up. That's really cool and I hope it goes well."
That's narcissism. She did trigger me. I warned her about my triggers. Yeah, it's my fault that I didn't leave sooner, and I and I blame myself, and it's not helpful for me to blame her, but it's not helpful for her to blame me. She should work on herself. Does she have control over what I do? And you know what? I literally accepted all of that before she even said. I was like, I should not be angry, and I'm working on that. Okay, I'm gonna leave. What happened? Marcella's being an attention, it really wants attention from me at this point. You know? She really wants to leech off my fan base. It's really what's going on. Genuinely? Yeah.
Lexity talks about Marcella's retelling of the events of their relationship as if she was farming attention off the internet. This is incredibly ironic, coming from someone whose online identity is built on vulnerability and raw self-expression. Her entire persona revolves around sharing intensely personal stories in front of an audience, often in live streams or TikToks, to inspire others or draw sympathy. For someone who encourages openness and destigmatizes mental health, accusing Marcella of attention-seeking just for speaking truth is incredibly hypocritical, and paints Lexity in an even more manipulative light. Marcella's only crime was deciding to take things slow, a completely rational and healthy choice in any budding relationship. Her intention was never to hurt Lexity, but to ensure their emotional compatibility before diving in head first. Unfortunately, Lexi interpreted that need for space as rejection. For someone with abandonment issues, this felt like a personal attack. But instead of communicating or walking away, she spiraled into a meltdown. It's even more troubling when you realize all of this unfolded within just 4 days of them meeting.
She was very triggered by my attachment style. I wanted time. I wanted to get to know her. I just kind of wanted to exist with each other. Let's, go out and do fun things. Let's watch movies together. Let's hang out. Let's not become so, crazy attached right from the beginning. Let's build this slowly so that I don't crash and burn. And so you don't crash and burn. But that was very triggering to them, just because of past relationships they've had. So my past relationships and their past relationships were very conflicting, and we were very triggering to each other. And so it sort of blew up in my face in a very, very scary way. I wasn't even thinking about them in that moment. They said they were scared to lose me, and based on knowing about their past, I should have consoled them and said, "You're not going to lose me." But I did not do that. I just answered their question. I told them that my fear was that we became anxiously attached to each other. And that was the absolute wrong thing to say and do. It triggered something extremely scary in this person. And they were drinking alcohol, which frightened me when I learned that they would be drinking that night, because they had warned me that they were an alcoholic. So I was already a little bit worried, and they blew up. And it was very, very reminiscent of ways that I've been blown up on before.
No, I'm not I'm sorry about Marcella. You called it abusive yourself? Okay, it's abusive behavior, but that doesn't make me an abusive person. Like I made a mistake. Yeah, sure, okay? That doesn't make me an abuser. Yeah? Like an abuser is someone who has a pattern of abuse that they repeat, not makes a mistake once and does something that was abusive. Like, there's a difference. Yeah, and I guess I should have phrased that earlier before, but it was a mistake and it was a bad thing to do, but I'm not an abusive person. And I'm not building abusive relationships, you know? I don't know, doesn't matter. We're just gonna block anyone who says that. Okay, seriously, we're gonna restart.
She constantly lives in denial when it comes to admitting that she's an abusive person. This denial is not uncommon among abusers, but in Lexity's case, it's made worse by her large platform and public visibility. She weaponizes her struggles to justify her emotional outbursts, but accountability never seems to follow. She deflects, reframes, and spins narratives that always make her the misunderstood one, never the wrongdoer. The result is a cycle where others are forced to carry the blame while she reaps sympathy from her audience. Unfortunately, Lexity's spree of abuse did not end with Marcella. The next victim was someone named Marcy, whose story paints an equally disturbing picture.
Hi, I'm Marcy. I'm here to talk about the situation that I encountered with Anastasia/Lexity today. I am going to just jump right into it. Let me make sure my earbud is in.
Marcy said she and Lexity chatted for a few months before finally meeting up in person after several failed attempts. The moment they did, Lexity's first question wasn't about how she was or how the journey was. Instead, she asked if Marcy was in an open relationship. That question, very awkward, immediately set the tone for a strange and uncomfortable evening. For someone claiming to be emotionally intelligent, this was a poor start.
So, 2 days ago, we planned the hangout. I get picked up by her in her van, and the first thing I'm asked is, are you in an open relationship? To which I say, no, I am not. I am in a monogamous relationship. We can totally talk about it, we're meeting each other for the first time. So, we'll get there. You'll learn who I am. I'll learn who you are.
First impressions matter, and Lexity was already going down the wrong path. According to Marcy, things escalated quickly. Lexity started pushing Marcy to consider leaving her current partner, repeatedly telling her that she would be better off with her. This wasn't just a friend offering support. It was coercion masked as concern. From the very beginning, Lexity seems to view Marcy less as a person and more as a prize to be claimed.
From the get-go, it seems like Anastasia is pressuring me to want her more than I want my current partner. And I will say, I do go to my friends for relationship advice, support, whatever that may entail. But what I believe in is that it is not okay to try and force somebody out of their relationship they're currently in and try and persuade them that they deserve better, because that's very harmful, especially if like the person you like, the friend you're trying to convince to leave the relationship can't or doesn't want to because they love that person, you know, which is valid. We all have our own kind of timelines with how we heal and how we figure our situations out. It's not up to somebody to tell you what you need to do about a situation and then kind of make you feel bad if you don't follow their decision. So Anastasia was pressuring me to, you know, understand that I deserved better and I needed to leave my relationship, and somebody like her could treat me so much better, and that, you know, I'm obviously a submissive woman that needs a dominant mommy to take care of her, which I do not. I'm not asking for that.
Lexity consistently forces her dominant mommy persona on the people she dates, whether or not they consent to it. For her, it seems to be more than a kink. It's a deeply rooted fantasy connected to her upbringing. She often explains it as an attempt to recreate the nurturing environment she never received as a child. But instead of seeking therapy to address this unmet need, she tries to relive it through her partners, using emotional control and dominance as substitutes for healing.
So I'm a mommy dom, and that's not just a sex thing. It's a thing that I am in romantic relationships outside of the bedroom. I want to cook for you. I want to run you a bath. I want to take care of you. I want to hold you and tell you that you're safe and listen to your emotions and do the things that I wish my mother had done for me when I was a child. And yes, it does come from trauma, and that's okay, right? Everything comes from trauma. Trauma shapes us, and just because you can say, oh, you have mommy issues, yes, I do, and I handle them very well. I give consenting adults a comforting, welcoming space where they can be emotionally vulnerable and feel taken care of, so I can experience vicariously the childhood I never got. What's bad about that? And if you think being a mommy dom is just a sex thing, you know nothing about BDSM culture. It is so much more than just a sex thing. It is a sex thing.
Marcy talks about how Lexity pushed this mommy dynamic despite her clear lack of interest in it. It was another example of Lexity bulldozing boundaries to satisfy her emotional needs, never truly seeing or respecting her partner's discomfort.
But unfortunately, because I was in shock, I didn't know how to process the fact that my boundaries were being actively broken, that I continued to be nice and sweet and kind of shy, to where I believe she took that on her own to be like, oh, this person like is shy because she's being activated into her submissive mode because I need to be her dommy mommy. And that's not the case. I was very insecure. I was nervous. I didn't know how to tell this person that I felt like they kept breaking my boundaries, because I'm still working on that. I'm still actively healing. So I people pleased Anastasia, and
Marcy talks about how Lexity pushed this mommy dynamic despite her clear lack of interest in it. It was another example of Lexity bulldozing boundaries to satisfy her emotional needs, never truly seeing or respecting her partner's discomfort. In Marcy's case, Lexity wasn't verbally explosive like she was with Marcella. Instead, her abuse took a more physical form.
So after dinner, we're walking to the park. And I love platonic affection. I love hugging, holding hands, even like consensual platonic kisses. I hugged Anastasia, and it was nice. It was a really good hug. But from like the hug on, I felt like she was really pressuring me to be romantic or with her. She gave me her nice jacket. It was really warm. We went on the bench in front of this pond to talk and just sit and digest. And Anastasia was trying to kiss me. I was trying to pull away and just not give in to that. And then Next thing I know, Anastasia is my best. And she does this twice. And I froze because I didn't know what to do.
Lexity completely ignored Marcy's boundaries, despite being told that Marcy was already in a committed relationship. Even after Marcy reiterated her loyalty to her partner, Lexity kept pushing. She didn't stop when they were alone or even when she was dropping Marcy off. Instead, she guilt-tripped her by saying things like, "I can't believe you're going back to him instead of me," turning what should have been a clear goodbye into a manipulative moment.
I get back to where I'm getting dropped off, and Anastasia is upset that I'm going back to my boyfriend's house and not staying with her, and she tells me, basically, like, "I just can't believe you're going with him and not with me." And I was like, and I started crying in front of her, and I was like, "Hey, dude, I just needed a friend tonight. I'm going through my own things as well, and I'm very sorry if I put any of those onto you that made you feel like I need that much saving, because I don't. But I appreciate you, and I understand where you're coming from."
Two things became painfully clear at this point. The first is that Lexity has developed a severe superhero complex. She seems to think that every vulnerable person she meets must be saved by her, even if they never asked for it. The second is her obsession with romantic relationships. Lexity has made the pursuit of a partner the central purpose of her life, chasing it so recklessly that she overlooks whether it's healthy or wanted.
Hey, sweet pea. So sometimes when I tell people I need a romantic relationship in order to feel fulfilled, they go, "Oh my gosh, you shouldn't need a romantic relationship. You should just want that. You should work on yourself until you don't need people anymore." But the reality is, a romantic relationship is like the main thing I want in life. You know, I want to find someone who's willing to spend their life with me so I can share my entire life with them, and they can share their entire life with me. That's my main goal in life. So if I don't find the main thing I'm looking for, I'm not exactly going to feel fulfilled in life, am I? You know, does that make sense? And no, I'm not jumping into any old relationship just because I'm afraid to be alone. I'm very self-reliant, and I've been alone for quite a while, despite the fact that a lot of people are very interested in me. I'm still alone because I'm not just jumping into any relationship. That doesn't change the fact that I will never feel fulfilled unless I get the main thing I'm looking for, which happens to be a committed, loving, healthy, romantic relationship. And it's weird that you keep projecting that that's an unhealthy thing for me to want.
So for Lexity, any fan or follower who reached out during a mental health breakdown became an opportunity, not to help them, but to insert herself into their lives in a way that satisfied her emotional cravings. That's why she pushed Marcy to leave her relationship. In her mind, that was her chance to finally find the love she believed she deserved. But instead of mutual care, it became a disturbing pattern of coercion. She's in deep denial about her behavior. On her platform, she still posts videos blaming her exes for everything, claiming they're making up stories or never appreciating how much she tried to help them. These are guilt-tripping tactics used to avoid responsibility. Her content now revolves around painting herself as the misunderstood one, which is rich considering how much harm she's caused.
Hey, sweet pea. So one of the hardest parts of letting go of my ex is that I know that they're gonna build up this story in their head about how terrible of a person I am and how I was the cause of all the problems in our relationship. And I don't know, when I spent so much time and effort trying to help them grow, and I really do think that their main problem is that they never examine how they're the cause of the problems in their life. You know, they always put it on something or someone else instead of examining what they did to cause their problems. But now they're going to turn around and turn me into the bad guy, you know, shirk responsibility once again, and that really hurts because, like, as much as it hurts to lose them and have them not support me, it hurts even more to feel like a failure again, especially when I feel like I've spent my entire life trying to help the people around me grow and accept how they've been part of the damage around them. Like, they've been part of the problem, even the majority of the problem some of the time, or maybe even a lot of the time. I don't know. I'm not one to judge that necessarily. I know I could be better. I could always be better. But I really just don't like it when people demonize me to make themselves sit in this little stasis bubble where they don't have to grow at all and examine what they did to cause the problems in their life. It makes me so sad. It does.
As much as Lexity continues to insist that she isn't, the sheer number of credible allegations and first-hand accounts make it hard to see her as innocent. This pattern has gone far beyond misunderstandings. Another deeply disturbing case is her interaction with Haley.
My name is Haley. This is my experience with Anastasia Alexandria Athena Lennon, also known as Lexity, Anya Athena on Instagram, I believe now.
Haley, a recovering alcoholic, had what can only be described as a traumatic experience with Lexity. In the video where she tells her story, Haley looks shaken. Her voice quivers and her face carries visible pain, even though the events are in the past. Lexity was supposed to be a comforting friend. Instead, she became the source of significant trauma that Haley is still trying to process. According to Haley, while she was blackout drunk, Lexity initiated physical contact without consent. When Haley regained partial awareness, Lexity continued to make advances. This wasn't just poor judgment, it was a complete disregard for consent and a clear example of predatory behavior. Haley was too intoxicated to provide informed consent, and that makes Lexity's actions even more serious.
It made me really nervous. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I did start drinking immediately when she told me that. It's my fault, not her fault that I started drinking. So by the time she got here, I was already really drunk. And I had missed her call when she got here about twice. And I could tell she was getting upset. She sent me a bunch of messages. She's like, how am I supposed to get in? If you're not gonna let me in, how am I supposed to see you? Are you gonna let me in, or am I leaving? Am I leaving town? And I'm like, no, like, I'm like, come on, like, I'm gonna try to help you find the place. I'm sorry. So she found the place. We go inside. At this point, I am pretty much blacked out entirely. That's where like the night like ends for me, unfortunately, and picks up again a little bit later at a very scary, frightening, confusing time to wake up to what I'm about to talk about. Forward, I wake up on the couch and Anastasia has her head on my lap, and she's like sniffing my crotch, and I'm like, what is happening? Because the last thing I remember was her like getting here, and I was just showing her like this stuff on my makeup desk.
Haley shares the screenshot of a conversation she had with Lexity where she admitted to touching her improperly. Hey, I'm sorry I did anything. I honestly didn't think you were that drunk when stuff started. I was very unclear on what boundaries there were, let alone if I was crossing any. No matter how drunk a person is, whether they're just tipsy or completely incapacitated by alcohol, they cannot give informed consent. That's the standard view in both legal and ethical contexts, and it's supported by research and public health consensus. When a person is intoxicated, their ability to assess risk, express clear decisions, and set personal boundaries is significantly impaired. But Lexity seems to reject this reality. She has openly stated that she believes drunk people can, in fact, give consent to intimate relations, an opinion that is not only dangerous, but wildly irresponsible given her influence.
Hey, sweet pea, so you're not gonna like this take, but drunk people can absolutely consent to sex. I was an alcoholic for a long time. I was drunk every single day for like 3 years. I had a lot of sex during that time, and it wasn't all coercive. I knew what I was doing, and it is not up to other people to determine how drunk I am when they also might be intoxicated, and when I might be concealing how intoxicated I am. Yeah? You need to be very, very drunk for you to not be able to consent. Like, can't really walk or talk straight, right? Like, the kind of drunk where it is impossible for you to conceal how drunk you are. And at that point, yeah, you can't really consent to sex. But there is a large space in between sober and blackout drunk where you are very able to consent, and even likely to try to consent just because alcohol makes people horny. Yeah, alcoholics can absolutely consent to sex, and they regularly do.
There's a massive logical disconnect in Lexity's argument. She claims no one can judge how drunk she is during her own moments of intoxication, insisting she knows her limits and agency. Yet when the roles are reversed and someone else, like Haley, is the one who's drunk, Lexity suddenly feels entitled to judge their level of sobriety. She claims she didn't think Haley was that drunk, even though Haley was blackout drunk and unable to remember major parts of the night. That's not just inconsistent, it's predatory behavior dressed up as ignorance. Lexity was fully aware that Haley had a girlfriend. In fact, she didn't just ignore this boundary, she outright suggested that all three of them get intimate, as if people's relationships and consent were negotiable based on her desires. This wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment either. It's part of a repeated pattern where she disregards people's personal relationships while constantly complaining that her own boundaries are being violated. That kind of hypocrisy is not only manipulative, but deeply manipulative and controlling. After things spiraled and Haley made the choice to block Lexity, Lexity's reaction wasn't remorse, it was blackmail. She tried to manipulate Haley into posting a public video to clear her name, asking her to deny the assault allegations and discredit every other person who had come forward. The implied threat was that their friendship would end if Haley refused. That's not just unethical, it's emotional extortion. It shows how far Lexity's willing to go to erase consequences and rewrite the narrative.
He tried to blackmail me and say that we're no longer going to be friends at all unless you make a video discrediting all the victims and yourself. Like, tell them that you sexually harassed me and that I never sexually harassed anyone at all, like, or abused anyone or anything like that, even though there's proof of it.
Lexity's solution to salvaging her reputation wasn't self-reflection or taking accountability, it was to weaponize one of her victims. She saw Haley, someone she had already harmed, as a tool to attack others and try to dismantle the multiple allegations piling up against her. Instead of accepting fault or acknowledging a pattern of abusive behavior, she attempted to use Haley to invalidate the voices of other survivors. This speaks volumes about her mindset, and it's why many believe she is far more dangerous than she presents herself to be. Lexi is no superhero, and it's become very obvious from recent unfoldings. If anything, she needs to seek help, and do it as fast as possible. Unfortunately, she has a good social media presence, and can be easily carried away by the influence she currently wields. One thing is certain, however, and that's that if she continues like this, she'll leave a whole lot of trauma in her trail, and at the end of the day, she would end up doing so much harm that her soothing videos won't be able to make up for her.
Alright, it's time to address the nose ring drama. So if you haven't seen my latest video where I made this new nose ring right here, people are essentially calling me every name under the sun because I had the rice adler on my jacket.
Ever since TikTok launched, we've seen some crazy lunatics, creeps, and delusional personalities emerge from the platform. We've covered the likes of Buddy Haynes, who used his short social media fame to interact with young girls, and Jupiter Hybrid, who used to believe he was a mix of werewolf and demon. There were also personalities like Anaconda Sin, who crossed all boundaries when talking about their own families and pets. One thing in common in almost all of these stories: TikTok. This platform, while famous for its addictive shorts and reels, often pushes out and encourages problematic creators who are just insane on another level. The subject of today's video, Felix Cipher, is another unnerving figure who enraged the internet with his delusional beliefs and violent theories. He was trending on X in 2023, and the whole internet wanted him cancelled. But what did he do to deserve this hate? Well, he cosplayed a certain historical figure who is considered the most horrible human being to ever exist on this earth. The clip we showed you at the start of this video is just the tip of the iceberg. Felix posted a series of TikToks to his account in 2023, boasting that he was a reincarnated version of none other than Adolf Hitler. He also posted a few cosplays dressed head to toe as this German political figure, enraging the people and attracting unwanted hate towards him. And the fact that Felix is transgender makes the situation even more mind-numbing and utterly bizarre, because if you read the history, you must know that Hitler was homophobic and put countless homosexual men into concentration camps. Fortunately, Felix's TikTok account has been permanently banned, and all of his videos and comments have been erased from the platform. However, the impact of his problematic presence on social media still lingers. His actions affected numerous individuals and communities, leaving behind a trail of controversy and harm. In today's video, we'll take a deep dive into his troubling rise and fall. We'll explore how Felix initially gained traction on TikTok, became a viral meme, and ultimately faced well-deserved consequences for his actions. From his early content to the events that led to his cancellation, we'll break down every detail of this internet saga. Who is Felix Cipher? Felix Cipher is a 22-year-old American TikToker from Colorado. While not much is known about his early life, one notable detail is that he briefly attended an art school. However, his time there was incredibly short-lived, as he dropped out after just 2 weeks. According to Felix himself, The reason for his departure was his strong dislike for the people at the school. However, a few people on the internet dug up some of Felix's artwork, and to put it mildly, it was neither unique nor particularly creative. Given this, many speculated that the real reason he dropped out of art school wasn't because of his disdain for his classmates, but rather his own incompetence and lack of genuine artistic talent. It's also worth mentioning that Adolf Hitler himself once aspired to be a professional artist. He applied for admission to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna not just once, but twice, only to be rejected both times due to the lack of artistic competence in his work. This eerie similarity between Felix and the real Hitler did not go unnoticed by internet users. Many pointed out that Felix's self-proclaimed artistic aspirations, combined with his obsession with Nazi ideology, made the comparison even more unsettling. Apparently, Felix was not only interested in arts, but he also proclaimed himself to be a fantasy fiction writer. As of now, he has written 9 young adult and fantasy fiction books, mainly focusing on mythical creatures. His work can be viewed on Goodreads and Amazon, but we would like to warn you that he had written an entire synopsis of his books in the description, and you can't understand a single word. Both of his books have not managed to gain even 2 stars in all these years. And we know the reason. If you go to Goodreads and search out his books, Angels of Hell and Heaven's Demons, you'll find hundreds of reviews that just say, "Avoid this author. He is a Nazi and thinks he is Adolf Hitler." He published his first book in 2017 and the second in 2023, just before joining TikTok and posting some explosive videos. Did we mention that Felix also had a peculiar interest in snakes? Well, he owned numerous pet snakes and showed them off in his videos during the initial days of his TikTok career. In fact, when he first started making TikToks, the majority of his content was focused on showing these peculiar snakes and his day-to-day life. For a while, nobody suspected that he was a gone case, as his content was pretty clean. It is surprising that even with his subpar and non-exciting content, he managed to gain thousands of followers in a matter of months. This newfound success on the platform made him a little bit reckless, and he started to upload frequent outfit checks. And this is when all hell broke loose. Felix's outfit check trend quickly took a dark turn. For those unfamiliar with the trend, it's a common way for TikTok users to showcase their outfits in creative or stylish ways. At first glance, it seems like Felix was simply engaging with his audience and pushing out harmless content. However, upon closer inspection, his outfit choices appeared far from ordinary. In February 2023, Felix began posting a series of TikToks where his outfits bore an uncanny resemblance to Adolf Hitler's attire. Initially, people were confused, unsure if it was intentional or just a bizarre coincidence. But as he continued posting similar videos, it became evident that he was deliberately dressing like the infamous dictator. His hairstyle, mustache, and even his posture all mimicked Hitler's distinct look. While all of the original videos from Felix's account are now deleted, some screenshots and reposted videos showcase his terrible and unnerving cosplays.
Back with you, fully undressed, not true. It was that fire. Oh, fire. I love everything you do. When you arm it down for the stupid shit I do, wanna run my back with you. Fully undressed, not true. Let him go, let him go. Telling you things you already know. I explode, asking you where you want us to go. You've been riding to healers all your life. It's not like I'm asking to be your wife.
What troubled people the most about his outfit was his uniform, which eerily resembled the M36 uniform worn by German soldiers in 1936. Not only that, He also had an embroidered insignia on his jacket that looked like the German imperial eagle or the Reichsadler. This specific sign or pin was worn by German people when their country was under Nazi rule. All these details, along with the disturbing uniform and the odd nose ring, made it clear that Felix was deliberately trying to mimic Hitler. And, to be honest, he was not very subtle about it. Everything from his uniform to his terrible haircut screamed who he was trying to look like. And as expected, his foul attempt to cosplay Hitler did not go unnoticed by the internet. People soon began to realize what he was trying to do and started calling him out. The photo where he was showing off his new nose ring attracted the most attention, and this nose ring greatly resembled the mustache of Adolf Hitler. We can all agree on how disturbing this picture appears. The insignia, the haircut, the gray uniform, and the mustache-like nose ring, all of this is too much of a coincidence. Many people on TikTok and X started calling Felix out and began confronting him about his problematic outfit checks. Instead of feeling remorse for his actions and apologizing to the world for his dumb mistake, he chose to make a TikTok video claiming that he was the reincarnated version of this cruel German political figure. Felix's claims in this video are beyond absurd and disturbing. Addressing the controversy surrounding his nose ring and the Reichsadler symbol, he made the shocking statement that he was deeply connected to his past life and believed he was the reincarnation of Adolf Hitler. He went on to describe a bizarre dream he had at the age of 5, in which he allegedly witnessed himself his own life as the original Hitler. According to Felix, this dream was proof that he had been reborn as the infamous dictator. To make matters even more unsettling, he pointed to a mark on his forehead, insisting that it was the very spot where he shot himself in his past life.
Alright, it's time to address the nose ring drama. So if you haven't seen my latest video where I made this new nose ring right here, people are essentially calling me every name under the sun because I had the Reichsadler on my jacket. So I need to tell you guys a little something about me. And you can call me crazy, you can call me whatever you'd like, any name under the sun. But I'm very in tune with my past and my past lives and lifetimes that I've lived before this one. My last life just so happened to be a very infamous one. Me offing myself was one of the first memories I had from that lifetime. It came to me when I was 5 in my nightmares. You can see right where I shot myself too. That and just so many other things throughout my life have connected me to my past. And you can go say, oh, go get on your meds again, you nutter. I've been on so many meds and none of them have changed what I saw when I was 5.
Can we all take a moment to process what we just heard? Felix in this video did not only sound delusional, but also appeared mentally unstable. He himself claimed that he had taken various medications to help his situation, but none of them helped him forget the dream he had as a child. Well, medications don't work like that. They can't help you forget something or erase a memory. They'll just help you process it. After this video was posted, the public outrage was insane. All over TikTok and Twitter, Felix Cipher was trending for all the wrong reasons. This video received millions of views and was reposted and shared numerous times. While some people were taking his bizarre claims as a joke, others argued about the potential harm his statements would cause over the internet.
This is Felix Cipher right there. I feel like that's going to get me demonetized just the fit itself. What is that? Felix Cipher, if you ever heard of this person, is someone who believes in their heart of hearts that they is the reincarnation of that one guy from Germany, I don't know, around the 1940s, the one called Hitler. Yeah, the one who didn't make it to art school, that guy. I'm pretty sure the guy's trans. Pretty sure he's a trans man or trans mask. That's crazy. Imagine me and Hitler, right? Someone who, I don't know if you know this, destroyed and killed and massacred gay people, trans people. That was one of the first targets. That'd be crazy. Use a man to implement this, you die. You fight in this war. You do all these things. You massacre millions of people. You kill yourself because it's too late, you know? It's over. You wake up.
As making memes is the general response to any controversy on the internet, many people mocked Felix using clips from the epic rap battles of history.
Don't be racist.
I am Adolf Hitler, commander of the Third Reich.
Twitter, on the other hand, took Felix's statements pretty seriously and played a part in hyping up the controversy. As for a day or two, this guy was trending on the platform. One ex-user wrote, "Some dude got called out on TikTok for wearing a Third Reich medal, and in response, he made a video coming out as the literal reincarnation of Hitler in front of his squishmallows. You cannot make this up." There were tweets after tweets of people calling Felix out for his delusional beliefs and terrible statements. However, despite the backlash and the severity of Felix's statements, TikTok did not ban his account, but pushed his content to the front page so that everyone could see him. One Reddit user claimed that despite not being interested in the drama, they were pushed down the Felix Cipher rabbit hole against their will. Apparently, at the peak of this controversy, the stitches related to this deranged TikToker were on everybody's For You page. The Reddit user wrote, "Has anyone else been forced down the Felix Cipher rabbit hole against their will? This guy literally actually claims to be the reincarnation of Hitler, and stitches of his unhinged content are now half my FYP." So when the world was busy calling Felix out for his deranged and pathetic behavior, TikTok was busy pushing his content to the front page. These videos and pictures of Felix went viral so much that they got the attention of an actual Holocaust survivor. Lev and Julie Gray are two content creators on TikTok who have a following of nearly 500,000 people. Their account and content are focused on teaching people about the Holocaust and spreading awareness about anti-Semitism. So Gideon is an old man who was put into a concentration camp in Thüringen. Here is a man who actually suffered at the hands of this German politician. So we can assume how Felix's deranged videos must have affected him. In response to Felix's pathetic behavior, Gideon posted a duet on his account, reacting to the cosplay of Felix. The video was simple in nature. Gideon recorded himself side by side with Felix, merely nodding in disappointment at his problematic outfit. The caption on the video said, "Your cosplay is not cute. Grow up."
I made a new nose ring.
Thousands of people rallied behind Gideon after this video, agreeing that Felix's outfit choices were deeply unsettling and offensive. The overwhelming response from viewers highlighted how blatantly inappropriate Felix's actions were, and many called for him to be held accountable. However, what truly sent shockwaves through the internet was Felix's own response to the video. Instead of acknowledging the concerns or offering an apology, he doubled down in the comments section with an utterly mind-boggling statement. His words were so outrageous that they left people stunned, further proving just how disconnected from reality he truly was. So he commented on the video of Gideon saying, "Haha, it's me. Sorry my man had you in a cample, pal, but I'm back for a reason." He actually said that! This bizarre and nonsensical statement makes it clear that Felix is not right in the head and requires serious medical help. No one in their right state of mind would claim that they're the reincarnation of Hitler and then go into the comments section of a Holocaust survivor and comment like this. Gideon also responded to this comment in an extremely polite and calculated way, saying, "Felix, I sincerely hope you receive the help you need ASAP." Julie Gray, the partner of Gideon Lev, also responded to the controversy by writing a blog post in the Times of Israel. She highlighted the fact that due to the rise in anti-Semitism in the US, people like Felix must be taken seriously. We also found out through this article that there were rumors about Felix being autistic and bipolar. But does his mental condition give him the excuse to behave the way he did? There are millions of people around the world who live with autism and bipolar disorder, yet they don't go online bragging about the reincarnation of Hitler. Instead, they seek support and work towards bettering themselves. In fact, countless individuals who also struggle with these conditions spoke out against Felix, making it clear that they do not claim him at all. At the peak of this controversy, a Facebook group was also made to discuss Felix's antics. While we can't locate this group on Facebook, a Reddit user shared that a person posted on this group claiming they knew Felix for a long time. The Reddit user discussed that Felix had acted deranged his whole life, and he had been in and out of mental health facilities multiple times. Apparently, Felix's family also knew about his problematic attitude and his crazy infatuation with Hitler. This is what the Redditor said. Apparently, he's been really unhinged for a long time, according to someone on Facebook who's known him for a long time. They said he's been violent before. His parents have known a lot of this for years, and he's even been infatuated with Hitler for years. They also said he's been in and out of facilities multiple times, and seemingly worse every time. I think his mom's a lawyer, too. A few people also reached out to Felix's family, particularly his mother, in an attempt to inform her about his contentious behavior online. According to a Reddit user, they managed to speak with Felix's mom, who claimed she was completely unaware of her son's online presence. However, others discovered that Felix's mother and grandmother had previously liked his cosplay videos on TikTok, suggesting that they might not have been as uninformed as they claimed. During their conversation, the Reddit user also learned that Felix's mother had blocked him from social media after his videos went viral, possibly as a way to distance herself from the backlash. I talked to the mom. Most of the convos going around are with me. She pretended like she didn't know, but she knew since at least January 6th, liking all his Hitler cosplays, etc. She's a lawyer and unfriended him on Facebook to protect her job. Felix also once revealed on Tumblr that his mom was also a reincarnated version of Hitler's mom. Like it makes any sense. Amidst all this backlash, Felix was also doxxed as his personal information, including his email address and phone number, got leaked online. While canceling Felix was extremely necessary, doxing him and leaking his personal information online was a malicious act that should not have been done. Doxing is a serious issue and a blatant violation of personal security that can have severe mental and emotional consequences. So, despite Felix's deranged attitude, doxing him was completely unacceptable. At the time this controversy broke out, Felix was working at Joe's. A lot of people also contacted his employer, telling them about the controversy and sending them videos of his problematic behavior. As expected, his employer informed the concerned people that Felix had been sacked from his job due to his extremely controversial online attitude. At this point, people were trying to find out as much as they could about Felix, as this was the key to getting him canceled. While his TikTok account is now deleted, some of his old archived posts give us a clear insight into his twisted mindset. He shared some posts on TikTok, revealing his disturbing ideologies. He touched on sensitive topics like eugenics, claiming that the world would be better off without most sectors of humanity.
Without me fair to find most I don't even talk. Why my not. Then get it that, but toss it out. It's been texted down, but toss it the gun, torque, that the box back, towards the one, toss a Boston, towards to transmitting, country toward,
So this is what the picture says. Eugenics can actually optimize our species. What does that mean? What is he trying to imply here? For those who are unaware of the concept of eugenics, here's how Britannica describes it. Eugenics, the selection of desirable heritable characteristics in order to improve future generations, typically in reference to humans. So this philosophy originated from Darwin and was later twisted and adopted by none other than Hitler to justify the extermination of entire races. In the 1930s, Nazis weaponized this ideology to legitimize their horrifying policies of involuntary sterilization and mass murder, aiming to eliminate so-called undesirable traits from the human race. They believed in creating a so-called pure society by systematically targeting and eradicating marginalized groups, which led to one of the darkest chapters in human history. This is an appalling and utterly monstrous philosophy that should never be discussed lightly on the internet. Spreading or glorifying such ideas is not only dangerous, but also deeply disrespectful to the millions of innocent lives lost due to such extremist beliefs. And the most terrible and disgusting thing of all, many people over the internet claim that Felix is actually half Jewish, while he himself never admitted this fact. Someone allegedly reached out to his mom, and she expressed that she was extremely hurt by Felix's actions because she was also a Russian Jew. There were also speculations about Felix being transsexual. Many people claimed that he shared this information with his audience on both of his TikTok accounts. For a person to claim he's transsexual and believe they are the reincarnation of Hitler is extremely odd. These two thoughts don't fit together at all. Thanks to all the backlash and a few notable people who spoke out against Felix, his TikTok accounts got taken down or he deleted them himself. For a while, he disappeared off the face of the earth, but unfortunately returned with another account and an extremely unnerving TikTok video. In this TikTok video, Felix apologized to the Holocaust survivor on whose video he shamelessly commented, but pressed that he still believed that he was the reincarnation of Hitler.
I think it's about time that I come back and say something now. First things first, I wanted to make a quick apology to just one person, and that is the Holocaust survivor who I made a very unsavory comment towards when I was first going viral. I was rather in shock at what was happening, and I was not thinking too clearly, so when I made that comment, it shouldn't have come out that way. I shouldn't have said that to him, so I'm sorry to get in. The next thing that I wanted to say was I have been in treatment for about 3 months now since I was gone. It was for depression, anxiety, and after a suicide attempt, they sent me here. If anyone cares to know, I'm doing a lot better now, so yay for me. However, I do want to just let people know that my views on myself, my past self, whatever, everything that made me blow up in the first place, that hasn't really changed. I don't really predict it changing, honestly. Just, it's affected me for so long.
We have covered many Lolcows who issued apologies after being horrendous on the internet, but Felix's apology is by far the most terrible one. It's evident that he does not give a dime about what people say because he truly believes he is the reincarnation of this German dictator. Unlike other internet figures who at least attempt to feign remorse or accountability, Felix showed no genuine concern for the backlash he received. Instead, his apology felt more like a poorly executed attempt to pacify his critics while doubling down on his delusions. Rather than acknowledging the harm his statements and actions have caused, Felix tried to act like a victim by saying that he left social media involuntarily. He rambled about how he still believed in his past life while showing no intention whatsoever to change. Interestingly, around the time Felix made a comeback on TikTok, his ex also started posting a few TikToks, revealing how toxic and emotionally manipulative Felix was in their 2 years of relationship. According to this person, Felix was problematic from the start of their relationship, but unfortunately he did not know about this weird and crazy obsession of Felix. He revealed that as the year passed, Felix started disclosing his fetishes and manipulating him to stay in the relationship. These revelations are not new, as we all already figured out that Felix is a mentally ill, highly unstable individual who definitely needs medical help. But there are a few things that Felix's ex said that will just numb your brain. So according to Felix's ex, while he was confessing to him that he was the reincarnation of Hitler, he made him touch the mark on his forehead. Interestingly, while doing so, he kept crying the whole time and called his ex Ava. For those who don't know who Ava was, she was the spouse of Adolf Hitler. This information makes it clear that Felix is delusional to the point of no return. At some point during their relationship, Felix's ex claimed that he also threatened to kill himself. What made Felix's personality even more absurd and incomprehensible was the discovery of a Spotify playlist under Felix's name. This peculiar playlist revealed that Felix had an egg-laying kink. Yes, you heard that right, an egg-laying kink. As if Felix's obsession with Hitler and his unhinged rants weren't disturbing enough, this revelation left the internet baffled. People were already struggling to comprehend Felix's disturbing beliefs and erratic behavior, but discovering this playlist added a whole new layer of absurdity to his personality. Many speculated that this kink was just another manifestation of his already warped mindset, while others simply found it too bizarre to process. Ultimately, the existence of this playlist further solidified the fact that Felix Cipher was not just another edgy internet troll, but someone deeply lost in his own delusions and fetishes.
Are you fucking kidding me? I think my favorite one in this one is Oops, I Did It Again by Britney Spears.
For those who don't know what an egg-laying kink is, here is how the Urban Dictionary describes it. A kink that involves laying eggs into someone, usually involving aliens, bugs, tentacles, etc., and can be seen occasionally in hentai. There is a large amount of art involving it on Tumblr, and is commonly associated with the inflation kink. And what's even more unnerving is the fact that someone on Tumblr found an account on an adult website under the name of Hissing Wolf. If you go on Tumblr and search Hissing Wolf, you'll end up with numerous posts referencing Felix Cipher. Apparently, before Felix joined TikTok and became a disgrace, he was quite active on Tumblr under the alias @HissingWolf. There are posts of him promoting his book, Heroes of Medaria, and also a few posts discussing his trans identity, but at the same time disagreeing with trans ideologies. Before he blew up on TikTok, people on Tumblr did not actually like him and called him TERF. So where is Felix Cipher now? As far as we know, the account he created to post his apology video also got banned a short while later, and he has not returned to social media since then. To be honest, it's likely that a lot of things Felix said came from a highly delusional space. He was not telling a lie when he said he was the reincarnation of Hitler, because there's a high chance he believed it to be true. But again, being mentally unfit does not allow him to ramble whatever he wants on the internet, as these kinds of statements can do serious emotional harm. Felix Cipher's story is a prime example of how delusion, unchecked narcissism, and an unhealthy obsession with historical figures can lead to complete internet infamy. What started as bizarre outfit checks and cryptic TikTok videos quickly spiraled into a disturbing display of self-proclaimed reincarnation, offensive ideologies, and deeply unsettling behaviors. Instead of taking responsibility for his actions and receiving help, Felix doubled down on his beliefs, making absurd claims that only further alienated him from the public. His unapologetic attitude, combined with his blatant disregard for the harm he caused, cemented his place as one of the most controversial figures in recent internet history. Though his TikTok account has been banned, the damage he inflicted will not be forgotten anytime soon. Felix Cipher serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked online behavior, and his downfall highlights the power of collective accountability in calling out individuals who promote harmful ideologies. That's it for today. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and tell us what you think about Felix Cipher in the comments section below. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.